There is nothing time won't allow.
Time to come.
An exorcist will capture a living ghost.
In time to come.
A transvestite will become Miss Universe.
In time to come.
An East Indian will win the Calypso crown.
In time to come.
Scientists will make old people come back young. Advertisements will light up the skies, and holograms will dazzle the eyes. Women will walk naked in the tongue. Things will go up and never come down. To go to Tobago, people will walk. Monkey and dog will learn how to talk. Satmaras will have a Negro grandson.
Time to come. Time to come. Time to come.
Present. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Right here on the local scene, changes we have seen them all. What a journey it has been, with our back against the wall. Remember the works of Lockjoint and Sampy at the time when money was no problem, and the drinks in the tongue was whiskey and brandy. That was when the Black Power caused big mayhem. We saw an island rise up just so from out in the ocean. But that is so I want you to know. In time to come, an African will win Mastana Baha.
In time to come.
Trinbago will have a woman prime minister.
In time to come.
Kitchener's son will come here and start to sing.
In time to come.
Who knows, he might become the next road match king. Indians and Africans will unite, and there will be no more racial fights. All of them drug pushers will cool down, and Dan Ratsing will hang up his gun. Sandy Grande will be a city. UNC will win in Lavanti. Bande one day will stop drinking rum.
Time to come. In time to come. In time to come.
Crazy.
No thoughts brought us here to this region, but through it all, we have risen above. At night, flashing the willow and river, these keepers of the flame must feel our undying love. This Caribbean nation is rising fast. A sunbeam cutting through a clouded past. A passion fills the world like a raging fire. As the sun shines, you know we can take it higher. Let every voice be raised. Everybody give praise. Rally, rally on the West Indies, and forever. Rally, rally on the West Indies. No time.
Yes, good night, good night, good night, good night. I welcome Delbert and Mr. Joseph Antoine for the very first time on the Talking Point show tonight. My apologies. Hudson George should be here, and Margaret, I did not send her the link. My apologies for that, Margaret. If you're there listening, I want to let me just send this out to Margaret. I went to the kitchen to get myself some food. I came back, I eat, and I had niggeritis, I fell asleep, man. I did. And my good friend, my newfound friend, Mr. Joseph Antoine, called, and I told him, I was saying to you, but then all of these things that I tried not to do was to fall asleep, and I did. Yeah, I did fall asleep. Okay. So Margaret Margaret always in here on time, and the reason why she's late for class is not no fault of hers, but mine. So tonight, I hope you guys, man, I went outside Delbert and went to the barber shop, and I didn't go to the barber shop. The restaurant next to the barber shop. I already passed through the barber shop. I'll pass in the back door and go into the restaurant because right behind the studio, right? You're walking like the outside kitchen, you just step into the outside kitchen, So I got in there, I was talking, and the guy said to me, man, I watched that show today that's one of the best shows. I really did enjoy the show today. Yeah, you see, that was good. That Mexi and his wife show, that was a really good show. So so it was, hey, Margaret, I was just saying, that people was really, they really, really learn a lot today from the Mexi show, that Mexi and Miss Grenada. Really powerful. Yes, so Margaret Francis, my apologies for you being late. That's no fault of yours. I'll take the slap on the wrist for that one. Yes?
You should.
I'll take all the licks for this one. I still saying for you since yesterday. I'm just looking back, I see what was the topic and on the thing there, Yes. Yeah, I'm being bad this week. I don't know. A lot of stuff been going on, so I kind of been a lot of different things going on. But yes, I'm happy that you're here, and and glad that you're here with me. And we have a new guest tonight, Mr. Joseph Antoine.
Okay.
I found Mr. Joseph Antoine on March 11th, 13th celebration. We had a long conversation, one of which he supported something of the views that I shared, which was not falsified information, but accurate information that he could attest to, that things that he saw on October 19th. So we had a long discussion after Delbert left the night. We went in up until 2 o'clock, Delbert. Can you imagine that? The conversation went in about 2 o'clock. I mean, when you start talking March 13th to 1983, you can never have a finish. You know that? Unless somebody say, well, I got to go. I had to say I got to go now. Because the conversation going to the next morning, I'm telling you. Because when information starts flowing, people who was there start saying what they saw against what people heard other persons said that somebody told them, the conversation changes, So class was in session.
I hear.
Yeah, a lot of people, have information that they get from other people that tell them that somebody said something, 3-4 generation deep, you know what I mean? So, and then they meet me, and they meet people like Mr. Joseph Antoine, who I was actually on October and on the foot and saw certain things that a lot of people couldn't see from at 360 degrees. They couldn't see where they were. They're not God. They wasn't looking from above, seeing everything. And they want to give you a whole book of what they saw. And no, that didn't happen there. I was there. But where were you? Which part were you? You know what I mean? So let's put all the way you were together, and let's put a book about where you were. We'll talk about that point, and we'll talk about this point over there, and we'll get the truth, of what really happened. and what you saw. So it was a good experience this time around. Every time we do these sessions on October and March 13th to October 19th. No, African Liberation Day, March 13th celebration. We always have this long conversation after the talk back. It goes on like people, oh my God. And you know, it is so entertaining and then educating and edifying at the same time, because people who was born 1983 hear stuff that they never heard from real participants of the event. Now again, well, I never heard that part of the story. You know, people. I was just born in 1983. I was born in 1985. You know, so and they hearing about this stuff, but never participate or know anybody who really was there. Only hear from other food party sources, not in the second party. You know, so that was it. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we here, Mr. Joseph Antoine, you can turn on your camera, and we're going to talk about the data protection.
I hope you could see me because my camera.
Yeah, you're good. You're good right there, man. Just bring it up a little bit. Right, bring it up a little bit. Right, good. You're good right there. No, don't. Okay, right there is good. There is good. Let me see you. Bring it to your right, to your left, to your right a little bit. Yeah. Right. Yeah, right? No, to your left. Let me see. Right, yeah. Okay, you're good there. Yeah? Should be fine.
I hope it doesn't chip.
You bring it down. No, you're going down a little bit too much. Yeah. Up that size is good. That way, where it is up there is fair enough for us. No, okay. Shift it too much to your left, I think. Bring it back to your right a little bit.
Okay. I hope I don't move it.
No, too much. No. Bring back move to the opposite side. Switch.
Right.
Bring it. Okay, and bring it up. Okay, see your face. You see it under your chin up. So
right. That yeah.
Up again. Who you bend it forward or whatever you're doing, do the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Have it stabilized right there. That should be fine with us. Should be okay. We see so much of your roof. Can you kind of bring it down a little bit so we see less of your roof? Okay. Right there is good. Right there. Have it stabilized right there. Nice. Right there is good. Have it fixed right there. And we're good. So tonight, I the whole week, a lot of things is happening in the world. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things is changing, from Russia to the Caribbean. And in most recent time in Grenada, we have our data protection bill that was tabled last week and week before in the parliament. And a lot have been said, a lot have been discussed, and most recently we saw what do you call it, Maggie? WAGMA?
WAG, the Media Workers Association.
Yeah. The Prime Minister had a meeting with them, and a number of things was discussed there. But most of all, we want to talk in general terms about the bill itself and the effects and why we need that. And as a media personnel, Margaret, and what is your take? We'll start with you because you're the most experienced person here, media-wise, and information, media responsibility, and data. You work in an area where you have to keep people's information secret, and and not be sharing people's information. How important to keep people's information in secrecy, and so on. Mr. Joseph Antoine, I'll let him introduce himself, a little more about himself. He'll do that. But I want to let him do that, and then Margaret will give a little synopsis about himself, and Delbert a little synopsis about himself. So Sir Joseph will know who he's dealing with around here, who are on the table. All right. And of course, my name is John Callis, known as the Sheriff. The Sheriff is not a false name. It's actually my real name, Sheriff. And Yes, I didn't know my name was Sheriff until I was traveling with Bonner Code 1. The first time I was traveling abroad, and Lorna McPhee brought my passport. I gave her my information. He got my passport from me. I didn't go get it. They got it for me. Got to pause there, put the tick off, and they hey, Sheriff, come get, and I walking around with Bonner, and we're there walking, and that don't bother me at all. And this guy came up to me. What's his name again? My goodness, Davis from Sotes. He came out to me and said, "What, you don't know your name or what? Here's your passport." Now I check in, open his name is Sheriff Callis, And then when I checked my birth certificate, it didn't have Sheriff on it, he had John. but the sheriff was John was added. John was added a year later. Not so sheriff. So when I so then he started calling me sheriff more often when I was traveling. I get to the airport, he do call me John, I call me Sheriff Callis. And when I came here and I traveled and I sent back home to get a new passport, I put John Callis again. They send it back to me that your name is not John Callis, it's Sheriff Callis. So I do resend my application to get a new passport. So I'm officially Sheriff John Callis and not John Sheriff Callis. So yeah, so that is where the sheriff came from. And when I put on on Facebook, the sheriff, there was no the sheriff until about 4 months later. I see the sheriff show all the way. Everybody had doing the sheriff, and so on. Even Gem FM wasn't something on the internet until I did Gem FM. Because there was nobody had Gem FM. And then probably about 3 to 6 months later, I started seeing Gem FM Gem FM 192, Gem FM 10 Australia. So all kind of Gem FM come all over the place. And then recently I see a show in Canada called Gem. FM show on a TV station. So yeah, so that's why I'm the sheriff. All right. So yeah, so I'm the owner, and I always say owner but co-founder of Genesis Magazine and Gem FM Radio. Started in 2020. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, started there. Launched in May 2002. All right. So here I am. Here we are tonight, and we have serious issues that we have discussed on this radio station, TV station, and we've been talking about a lot of different things, from politics. Greater politics, world politics, just everything we could talk about here, we have discussed it here. We've interviewed couples, we take it to the next level, that interviewing persons that are trendsetters, so to speak, in their lives. And this morning we had, I call them the Greater Power couple, Mexi the Messenger and Miss Greater, Tracia Grant Lewis. Well, tonight, again, another night of Gem FM Talking Point. We're discussing world politics, in the later part of it, and what's happening in Russia deal with China making a peace deal all over the world. There's peace talking going on, and America is excluded from that. And the trading of not stopping trading US dollars, and trading other currencies beside US dollars, which Delbert probably might help us here on his financial background to talk about that, and the politics that affect our life. Mr. Joseph Antoine, who deals with a lot of different stuff. I know he's been participating in a lot of different topics around the Caribbean and the world too. So we will have a mouthful tonight, a mindful, mouthful, bodyful of information to share and talk about. Well, I will go to Mr. Joseph Antoine. Good night to you, brother. How are you?
I'm there. I'm good. The only thing I'm taking a little bit by surprise, I didn't realize we were going to discuss the data protection bill.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have informed myself a little bit. I have a general idea of what is happening, but I would have liked to even go more specific so that I could have do justice to it. But nonetheless, I'm not afraid.
Yes.
Just to say a little about myself, I mean, Delbert would know me. I mean, knew me in the past.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we might have camped. Were you in St. Vincent?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. We scaled Mount Soufrière. You remember?
Oh, you guys have come really past then. Okay.
Yes.
So Margaret, you see, Delbert come full circle with the story of the eruption here. All right.
Exactly.
And also that my father is from where Delbert originated from.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
so, and there might even be some connection between me and him familiarly, from a familial point of view. I'm not sure, but I think so.
Okay.
By the way, Delbert, what Pete Philip is? Do you have any connection with Pete Philip?
I'm not a big guy on the whole family thing, but I know very well one of the I would call her one of Chantemel's most exemplary citizens. I don't think we are related, but our families have been friends for long before I was born.
Well,
Okay.
her father was my uncle, and my father was her uncle.
So there may be a connection because he's from the part of Chantemel called Behind Duquesne, and that's where my father originated from.
Yeah.
So
although my father was actually born in Monjaloo, in Chantemel.
But yeah, Monjaloo is the other side of Behind Duquesne. So we have Monjaloo is where we used to go fly kite. That's
hold on now. I'm getting confused there now. Monjaloo is I'm thinking Monjaloo is
I didn't realize
one.
you had a Monjaloo.
We have a Monjaloo. Our most famous citizen from Monjaloo is the current foreign minister.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Who is actually my cousin?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Margaret.
My father was Levi Andal.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
We are, if my mother and father was married, I will be carrying Andal.
Yeah, I know him very well. I know him very, very well.
Okay.
So you and Hugo are related because
recognize cousins. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, just to say a little about myself. I am an activist. I have been. I've done almost everything I've taught. I have worked as a social worker, community development worker. I've been leading Friends of the Earth Grenada for the last 30+ years, and as a result of that, I have championed a number of causes, whether it was the Mount Hackman or Mount Hackman against the development in Mount Hackman, and GMOs. Lately, we have championed things like the people's right not to be forced for vaccination when the COVID was around. And we have done with intellectual property I'm saying we. I know you wanted to know a little bit, but me, not my organization. But I've been involved. I've been a regular voice on the radio. I've been on a number of programs, TV programming where I've written. I'm without blowing my own trumpet. I'm somebody that Grenada knows. Maybe not the younger generation that much, but even my generation knows. And I was sometimes considered thorn in the last prime minister, the previous prime minister's
flesh.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
not because I am a member of the opposition, but I take issues which to me pertinent and some people take offense to. So basically, that's me. I'm one, you might say, a fighter.
All right. Okay. So we go to Margaret. I'll leave Margaret for last. Delbert, because as soon as you guys are connected, you just keep the link going.
I don't know what to say though. The brother is taking me back to my roots. I mean, I'm just a Chantemel boy who grew up, but it's very interesting that he came on tonight. I've known him a long time. We have not been in touch, but I specifically remember that trip. Now that you brought it up to St. Vincent, that was a really, really beautiful experience for us young people going there. And subsequently to that, I went back to St. Vincent. I think it was 2 years after to volunteer after Hurricane David hit St. Vincent. So I was part of a brigade that went up to St. Vincent with mattresses and comforters and sheets and whatnot to help out after the devastation. So I know I've seen your writing over the years. I've followed a lot of what you do. I know you're a lifelong activist, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You know, your father was a very, very, very outspoken man, you know, and he had a great sense of humor. So welcome to the GMFM. Hopefully this is the first of many appearances. And because as John indicated earlier, and you know, we come on and talk about big issues. So I think you would find a home here and you would be very comfortable.
Yes, most definitely. All right. We go to Margaret Francis. You know, Margaret is, I want to say, the voice of reason around here, you know. Yes, she is.
You need that when you have me around, you know.
Put that button in his place.
Yeah. He's the loose cannon, right?
The voice of reason, you know, and I wish sometimes you come on the morning time with us too, because even today I really want you to come on this morning with Tricia and Mexi the Messenger. She's Miss Grenada, and you know, and probably there was some question, and the text was here too, and text asked us, text pull a serious question from the bag, you know, that open up Mexi and the wife to talking about their personal life deep, you know, inside, pull this out. And that was real journalism. Like you pull it out from them, you know, and the world a bigger picture of who this couple really is and how they came together and what they walked through to come to where they are now. And it was really, really empowering today. I know probably you might have, I didn't see you listening this morning, but if you was there this morning, I know that I want you to have to be on this and that, but it was good. So go ahead, Margaret, talk to us.
Well, you know, there's not a whole lot to tell.
I like the hair tonight. You do the hair differently tonight. Thank you I love it. Yes. I can't say it in my workplace. They might tell me I'm sexually harassing you, but I'm
right? You gotta be so careful with what you say to who.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, but there's a whole lot to tell. I worked in media before, and while I'm not actively practicing, still maintain an interest and do run my mouth here with John and there from time to time. What's in line when he's getting out of control, you know, that goes.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So I think that's basically it in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. And you're a former member of working at GSI, you know, GIS,
many years ago.
and working with the leadership of Grenada and the PRG time too. So you have a cool understanding of the media in Grenada during that period of time compared to now, and with information sharing and disbursing of information and you know, and so on. So tonight,
John, could I ask Margaret what period you work with GIS?
From 81, from when I finished here, so 81 to 83.
Yeah.
So you work with Joyce Peters?
Yep.
Did you work with Joyce Peters?
Yep.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
I actually used to work with Television Free Grenada for a while.
Okay.
So I would have had an encounter with people in the GIS and with the Radio Free Grenada and so on. And in fact, one time, without stealing much of the time, I was one time the acting chairman of the Education Committee of the Media Workers Association of Free Grenada.
Okay.
So guys probably have met and know each other, but not really, you know.
This is a reunion on both sides. Huh?
Yeah.
It sure is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, in recent times, I didn't pull out no video on the set. I think most people have seen the discussion with the Prime Minister in Parliament, discussing the bill, the data information bill.
I didn't get around to looking at that. I was pretty busy.
Okay, but basically, it was a bill that was passed sort of in a way by the former government, and now it's in for discussion. And there was tabled, and there was discussion around it, and a number of issues was raised out of that. But the government side this time, is presenting it, and the opposition who had it in their hands before didn't seem to discuss in detail. Probably thought they'd be making a 15-0 again, so they decided to just do the thing their way. But now they have to answer and question it, but now they question the same man that they had drafted. You know what I'm saying? Why is this there? Why shouldn't this should have been about? They give the impression that this government actually put the bill together when under pressure they had to admit, yes, it was our bill. So let us discuss it and stop them calling Peter David was went out. Oh, they only calling him. He got the time to speak and only spoke about the terminology that the ruling side call names to people in the parliament and not discussing the issue at hand. So a lot of the ingredients left without a real rebuttal from the government's and the opposition side of the bill in a sense. So we're still left with sort of a more one-sided view of what really that bill is about. So data collection, I want to start with you, Margaret. In a general sense, just outside the grainer concept, right? Data collection and the protection of data and the misuse of information by persons knowingly doing or distributing information that should not be distributed and should be kept in secrecy. What is your take on data protection of individual rights under that, a person's right to data sharing and information?
Well, okay, so I didn't really get to go through the whole bit, but I mean, just in general, I get a sense that the bill is supposedly designed to protect individual information.
Yes.
Personal information, be it medical or whatever other information there is, which, I mean, is something that's critical today, especially in the world in which we live, and certainly necessary in places like Grenada where there's no respect at all for privacy and individuals' information. I mean, there's just, and I'm talking about personal information. I mean, every one of us here, I'm sure, particularly knows that medical information is one of the things that everybody hears about in Grenada. Doctors speak about patients' information in open situations, and other medical providers do the same thing too. And you just should not be doing that. But that is something that should be kept confidential and disclosed only to people on a need-to-know basis. So, so from that perspective, I mean, the protection of personal information, and then again, you have the misuse and abuse of people's information now in the digital age in which we live. You have, people's banking information, people's medical information, their whole identity and stuff. I mean, not that identity theft and stuff did not exist before, but because of the age in which we live, it has become so much easier to steal people's identity and then in turn steal other parts of them. And it's difficult to prove who you are when your identity is stolen. It's not that easy, So clearly there is a need for laws of those kinds. Having said that, and I'm saying this having not read the whole bill, right? We must also be careful, and this is the media part of me here, about and really scrutinize intent when and I'm not saying that this government is going to do that, but laws like these, a lot of governments you also use to stifle dissent. So, and to hide a lot of the nefarious deeds. So it's another thing that one has to be, very careful with. It's one of these things, like so many things in life where, it's a delicate balancing act, and so, as I said, I didn't read the full thing. I do know that there were some areas of concern. One of the things was there weren't some clear definitions as to who, for example, there were like some vagaries in terms like, an assigned person, who's this assigned person? How do you decide? What can I say? How do you define who is an authorized person?
Yes.
To conduct certain, how do you define that? Because I mean, anybody could get up and just say, okay, this person is an authorized person if you don't have clear definitions. So I know that was one area of concern that people, there was also another that's eluding me now that had to do with the seizure of quote unquote unauthorized information, and how that was supposed to, I can't remember the full details of it because as I said, I didn't read through the whole thing, but I know that also was another area that need to be addressed as well, and was an area of concern. And I mean, you don't want to pass something because the nature of our politics and our governance and all that stuff, you're here today and you're gone tomorrow. And the thing that you put in today could very well come back and bite you tomorrow. So, I always want to be very careful and make sure all I's are dotted and all T's are crossed when, you're going to do stuff like this so that it doesn't come back to bite you down the road in places like Grenada.
I think one thing that was troubling in terms of giving the ministers the power to appoint, to oversee, and I think the President was making a point that this is what the cabinet was dealt with. It's not strange, it's not new. The ministers have always been the head of that and doing such, and nothing strange about it. That way, probably had to change the laws in the constitution to allow to appoint anybody besides the minister to do such. So that was one of the things that was really making a stir in that presentation in terms of who get the power, to oversee such a collection of data and stuff like that. Who should spearhead that, right? So that was one of the things that was really troubling and create a kind of a stagnated kind of a conversation there in the conversation, kind of a blood clot in the thing, because they was the one who put it before the opposition, and in the previous administration, the government minister had oversight, and in many different bodies. Right? I remember when they was doing the merger. Remember that? The merger with the Cocoa Association and the Nutmeg Association. They appointed the minister Yolan Harsford, right? As the minister over it. So a lot of stuff they did, now they're trying to do the same thing that they had already done before. So yeah, go ahead, Margaret.
I mean, I just wanted to add something else that occurred to me as you were talking about the minister having oversight. And I'm sure Delbert could probably add to that as well. The problem with our countries of the Caribbean is that we have a lot of square pegs and round holes. And the thing is, I'm not saying that a minister necessarily has to be versed, A to Z in a thing, but you should have a working knowledge of what you're going to be overseeing. And at least that's my opinion. And certainly, even if you don't have full and total understanding, then you should have people around you who are experts that can give you expert advice. So the problem that you find in the Caribbean is that you have ministers who don't have a clue, and then the people around them are even worse. So, I mean, like here, I mean, you've seen enough congressional hearings here, similarly on technology-related issues, where even if these senators don't know what they're talking about, but the people around them can guide them into asking the right questions, or to make the right decisions. And that's one of the problems that you have. And one of our greatest areas of weakness in the Caribbean is in the area of technology and understanding technology. And and up and down you'd find, and I mean, I have friends who consult in that area, and that's one of the things that they complain about over and over and over again, and these are not people that are based in the Caribbean, but these are people who go into work as consultants for the World Bank and stuff like that. And that's one of the problems that they have, is that you find people, particularly in technology, don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then you're there now having oversight over something that you don't have a clue.
Yeah.
So that, to me, even scarier.
It's scary. Yeah. All right, Delbert Baptiste, you're up, man.
Well, listen, this thing is.
I know you've been following it, so yeah.
It's probably not as much as I wanted to, but I'm certainly going to give it some more attention. Like Margaret, I share the concern that there seems to be open house on people's privacy, in not just Grenada, in the Caribbean. especially when it comes to issues of medical records, financial records, and other issues that can affect a person in a very detrimental way if that information is unceremoniously shared by people who have access to it. And the idea that doctors and nurses and people in the financial institutions openly discuss clients' information, this is something that has plagued us for a long, long, long time. So I think the bill addresses those issues, but there are other parts of the bill that seems to put the onus on, listen, if a journalist acquires information, he or she may have a moral responsibility whether to publish or not, depending on how damaging he or she or the editor may think that information, the release of that information may cause. But if they so decide to publish, then they should not be held responsible or have any punitive action be taken against them. You know, there are procedures for that. You may decide to call the person or the agency or whatever and let them know that that you're working on a story and what you intend to publish and if they have any. But I feel the bill is a little unclear in that area. And I don't like, personally, I don't like the idea of NDC not owning, the current government not owning the bill. Own the bill. It's your bill. It's not an NNP bill anymore. Okay? The parliament was dissolved. When that parliament is dissolved, everything was before the parliament goes away until a new parliament comes into effect. So whatever you choose to reintroduce is yours. It's not nobody else's. So while I agree with the sort of pettiness and the sort of pettiness and vindictiveness of the former prime minister in the way he tried to engage on the conversation in parliament, I'm not into this. Like, you wrote the bill and you didn't have any problems with it, and own it. It's yours. You're the one introducing it now. Own it. You know, it's your bill. It's nobody else's bill. So I was a little disappointed in that, and the conversation, the debate in Parliament seemed to mirror the Republican debate in the House here, and that was a little troubling to me. You know, I think we're at a stage now where, you know, we so much better informed, we're all better educated, a lot more information are available to us, and we should be doing whatever we can to sort of elevate the debate. And I'm not so sure that's what's happening right now, so that concerns me. But anything that seems to limit people's right to speak out, and Margaret touched on that, sometimes people find certain clauses within these bills to limit people's freedom, to limit press freedom. They even may tend to use it in a punitive way against select different interest groups within the country. That concerns me, and that portion of the bill seems to be a little bit too open-ended for my taste. It lives too much up to, it's not clear. It's not, it's just open for too much wild interpretation. So I think, continued discussion is needed on it. Hopefully that the Grenada Bar Association would chime in, in a more, with some more details, maybe publish a paper on it, giving people some additional clarity on it, and some of the other NGOs that operate in that space who may want to should be called before Parliament to raise their concerns and see how we can make it better. But in terms of whether or not we need some level of protection of personal data, unquestionably we do need it. Or else we just operating in the wild west.
Yeah, I want to, because one of the things that I think you're making a point there, but about they owning the bill. I think they owned it. I think the rebuttal about that is that they're making it seem as though is the opposition, like you said, the former prime minister is making it sound as though this NDC government had written this bill and come to present it to them as this is their new bill that they present it, but it's not theirs. They wasn't the one who drafted it up, but they take ownership of it. I think what the prime minister is saying, look, don't shoot me for it. I understand. I'm reintroducing it now because you didn't have an opposition. We're making fair play here. Talk about it. Let's discuss it. It's the people's business. Let's discuss other people representing people here now, and not try to put a blame on me and try to pull little things out of it and saying, you should have done that. You should have done that, as if it's the new government that had really made and write up this bill. I think so. He had to go back and say, look, man, we take ownership. But don't act as though because you take ownership for it, it's we who drafted up. You did it. We discussing what you have drafted now, and let us deal with it because we have to do that to not only protect citizens but government too. Government ministers must not have a free reign. So all these things must be included to protect citizens, and also government ministers as well. So nobody's immune from it. The whole nation should be protected by it. I think that's the point that they was trying to bring across, and I think. They were looking to make political mileage, the opposition, trying to make mileage of it.
Well, so I think the current administration has to treat Dr. Mitchell as a political godfly. You're not going to get anything from him at this stage. Even when he was in power, he was a malicious, angry, bitter man. Now he's just now I don't know. He is sort of there's a race to the bottom with him every single time he opens his mouth. Every action that he seems to take is about satisfying his own ego. So I don't think they should expect anything to him. I'm just hoping that they invite other consultation on the bill and make sure that whatever kind of legislation that we pass can stand the test of time, and that the legislation has to do two things, right? And sometimes that's difficult to do, right? It has to protect people's privacy, and it also has to guarantee press freedom. And that intersection is sometimes, it's sometimes a tricky intersection. So we have, the Prime Minister himself is well regarded as a brilliant attorney. So hopefully he will put some of his expertise in that. We have, an attorney general who's also an attorney, and other people that they may have within that structure. And we have other attorneys in Grenada who they probably might need to consult, and certainly consult the public, So, because this is a groundbreaking piece of legislation, maybe we should have consultation, through town halls and other sort of workshops and so forth. You spoke about one with the Media's Association. Those kind of engagement will probably seek to make the piece of legislation a better piece of legislation. But it's a tightrope that the government working, because on one hand, you seek to protect people's privacy, and on the other hand, the bill must not infringe on any press freedom whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that come out of that was one of the things that even with press freedom, they could get people's information and use it against them in public, and put it out there. Like Margaret correctly said earlier in the conversation, that people will leak information, doctors will leak patient information, and you have seen it happen over the years. So how do we not protect that? How do we not include that protection for people's information? And I think it's a good bill. I think, like you said, it need public consultation, it need some more legal minds to it, and the interest groups should be part of that process. So here I am. I'm going to go to Mr. Joseph Antoine as friends of the earth and our social activists and everything that goes with that. Let me hear your take on just the information gathering and dissemination of information and the protection of right of persons' freedom under that act. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Joseph?
First of all, let me say I agree generally with the general sentiment and thoughts of the two previous speakers. But let me say this also. I think the confusion came about. It was before the bill went into Parliament. Apparently, the opposition decided to make confusion because I didn't hear anything about it except when a couple of people called me and said, "Oh, they understand that the government is going to curtail people's freedom and that kind of thing." And when I checked some of the people who were spreading that, they are some of the agents of the former prime minister. So they intended to create confusion to start with. Now, if I have to fault the current administration, I would say that at least they dropped the ball on the need for consultation. Okay, that's the only thing I would say, because we need consultation. There's some issues that came up. I think Margaret mentioned the issue of the authority, who is the authority. What we must note is that over the years, the way we made laws has been where you have the minister as central character in terms of how the law is applied and so on. We need to relook at that. I remember leading up to the election, when I became involved in the conversation on the Natural Resource Management Act of Bill. I'm sometimes confused with the Bill Act anyway. And I remember one of the concerns we had was the thing about the minister, and that was under the previous government. Even when the situation to change the Grand Lake Act, one of the concerns in one of the consultations was the fact the power of the minister. That was that time Mr. Gregory Boyne was the minister.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been concerned because of how these actors have behaved in recent times. Now I agree with Margaret also, even though you have minimum knowledge on a situation, you should seek advice from the experts, if I should use a word like that. From the people who know. But what have happened over the years? You have the government, particularly since '84, the government and particularly NNP, and I make no bones about it, they have made it difficult for anybody who have any decency. Look at Paul Graham. Paul Graham, he said he gave the advice on in relation to the earth being brought into Grenada by Sanders. And what happened? He was transferred to the Ministry of Health where he couldn't perform his basic training and skill set. And what happened after? You have a situation where the red Congo is all over the country now. I'm told that it's even as far as Guatemala now.
Wow. That was my economics teacher, by the way. Taught me economics.
Yeah. So yeah, he's now in Ghana.
Yeah, so in a sense he has gone back home because he studied in Kenya, right? In Kenya or Tanzania?
Yeah, he's studying. I think it's Kenya. I believe it's
Kenya. He went to Kenya on an ISU scholarship, International Union of Students scholarship, to study in Kenya. Yeah.
Wow.
Last year we had him. Pennsylvania had him on a conversation on intellectual property rights. No, I'm saying all of that to see we have to put things in context. There's a number, for instance, people talking about, well, as I said, the thing I would fault the government on is that they didn't really start to have consultation, notwithstanding the fact that the bill wasn't originated with them. And they'll not say about they should own the bill. But hear this, even the former prime minister doesn't even want to own the bill.
Well, he's crooked.
No, what I'm saying is that he has a habit. Of when the cookie comes to crumble, if I'm using the correct kind of statement, is that he would deflect it on something else.
Yes.
For instance, he said that the OECS model bill. We know there are model legislation, emerging all the time. But the fact when he wanted to bring in the thing on the blue economy and we struck it down, those civil society, we said no. They go and because he was head of the OECS at the time, get the OECS to push that as a thing that OECS was interested in, like the blue economy stuff. Because they tried to come to the back door with that thing. So I'm just saying all of that to say that, and again, I want to agree with Delbert a lot when he said, don't expect anything good coming out from this man. He's, I was listening a German, I was listening to a German professor, emeritus professor on the case with South Africa with Ramaphosa. And those folks. And he described politicians like that as geriatric. Because he said, no joke, honestly, because, and I immediately thought about our former prime minister. Here is a man who didn't do much except divide our nation.
Yeah.
And cause all the confusion, the mayhem. A lot of state apparatus is not even working.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that point because this is going to be one of the lasting legacy of Mitchell, is that he, in everything that he did, he sought to destroy the institutions of government. With everything he made everything about himself. I tell a story, and I don't want it to be that, but I tell a story of someone shipping a single medical mattress into Grenada for a patient, and because they were determined to be supporters of the NDC at the time, it took almost 2 months to get the mattress cleared, and it had to be approved by him personally in cabinet.
But listen, after Hurricane Ivan, I remember Chester Humphrey saying, look, people going up to the Botanical Garden to consult with the Prime Minister at the time for 2 sheets of galvanized, 2 pieces of board. And he was saying that this thing, they micromanagement. And you don't have to go, you should have a system in place that people need to go, especially if it's from the government. You don't go to the Prime Minister, the minister, and things when the government agencies are there to deal with that. But as is known, this man about himself, but I wouldn't say what I've said in the past in the sense that or belabor it. It's because of sickness of the man, psychologically. And I wouldn't elaborate. People know my views on that. So,
well, it's about building that sort of a sort of pipeline where he pushes anybody so he can dish out political patronage to as a way of keeping people, on that string. So in a sense that you are right, it is a psychological defect in him that he feels that he can use the state power to keep people on that string, and this is something that he has done better than any other prime minister probably in the Caribbean in the last 50 or 60 years,
Yes, I don't want to change the conversation, but I want to bring up one of my members, Steve Fashihi. Always he was he had triple citizenship. When Steve was sung in favor song to Dr. Mitchell, he was glad. But when he started bravely pointing out the wrongs, what happened? He was unceremoniously deported, even though he was a citizen. He didn't even give me a chance to defend his citizenship. He waited until I left because there was a spy in my office. And when I left the morning, I went and pick up Steve and deport him the next day.
Wow.
So I'm saying that it's not somebody that deal with due process. And let me raise that issue here. I am concerned that a lot of the laws that was passed between those times when they had the 15-seat majority, I will show that these laws are sound laws, because one of the characteristics of the so-called Westminster model is like you have the back and forth. You have the opposite, you have the government side and you have the opposition. There was no opposition to sort of challenge
Right.
whatever. And a lot of things went through. That is why they used to always have to go back and amend, whether it's the citizen by investment, amend. So the argument that is raised, I don't think it is valid. No, I agree with also Margaret that we have to ensure, and also that the folks have to understand that they may set up a trap for themselves for tomorrow if they are so not transparent. So whatever is passed, whatever is elaborated, must be for the long-term good of all of us, not just the party in power. And so maybe it's not too late for us to discuss that in a more robust way, so that at the end of the day, we all feel satisfied. But I don't think that that opposition leader will ever be satisfied with anything that comes out. And let me end here by saying, this data protection bill or law, it seemed to be a universal requirement. I remember not too long ago, the EU was discussing this.
Yeah.
Data protection, that's a big thing in Europe, in the European Union.
Yeah. It is.
I mean, it's not, I don't think it was clandestine. They were trying to hoodwink, but I think the opposition leader is paranoid, among other things. I wouldn't say the other one. Thanks.
But the EU has very, very, very strong privacy laws and rules and regulations in place. But they also have been able to, probably with the exception of Hungary and Turkey, to is Turkey actually a member of the EU? I don't think.
No.
NATO,
They're NATO.
NATO, yeah.
The EU doesn't want them. Some people in the EU doesn't want them.
well, listen.
Because they consider them non-European.
If you, part of Turkey is
Turkey falls,
and part is in Europe, right? But
geographically, it falls, but they don't consider because of the texture of the color of the surface. Yeah,
but if you admit Hungary, you could admit anybody, man.
I know. All right. So Margaret is here. Just taking my moderating here. I know I am. The bill itself, and I think they're about raising Margaret raised too. Consultation. I think the general consensus here is that on that bill that there should be a public consultation, like a town halls, and to hear from the people themselves. But the question is, I want to know how much people understand. I mean, the majority of people, the grassroots, understand that whole idea of data protection. I mean, we see situation where in Canada here, I remember one girl killing herself because her privacy was not protected. People put all this stuff out there, and then she get embarrassed about it. And I think then after the Canada government draft a bill, to do this, you can't just put people's information out there without permission. People pictures, personal pictures without people consent, right? If a boy leave a girl and they had a sexual encounter, he can't, even though you have the picture in his possession, he cannot put that picture out there anymore until he get her permission to do so. So after that, they have drafted laws. I think that's what they want to do in Grenada as well. People can just put up people's pictures on the internet anymore without consultation from the individual. Sensitive photos and information on persons, but you can just drop out in public like that.
So how does that relate if you are misbehaving in public?
Yeah, that's a different thing. I think that's
somebody films you.
Yeah, but I think
can they publish it?
Yes, no. Public is fine. If for example. Yeah, go ahead, Margaret.
No. I think you were going on the same track. Generally, if you're in a public space and you photograph, there's certain rights that you give up. There's certain things that you But I don't know about Canada, but in the US though, there's this thing where if you present someone in a false light, even if the person was in a public space, that they could probably bring a case against you for slander. So and a false light would be, okay, so you might be doing a story on something that's bad, right? For whatever reason. Let's say, a murder case or something of the sort, right? maybe a general story, and you just pull a random picture, and I so happen to be in that random picture, and you just stick it there, right? And so a person reading that story, seeing the headline, may assume that I was the person involved in this particular story. And so I'm now seen in a false light, and I can bring a case against you for that. So even so, I would think that one has to be careful. But generally, if you're in a public space and pictures are taken, the level of privacy that is granted to someone in their own personal private space, or their own thing, is not necessarily the same level of privacy.
But Margaret, the courts have sort of dealt with that here. I forget the case, but if the publication was determined to be in error or a mistake or an oversight, the courts has given the benefit of the doubt to the media. The media
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, because I don't know of any recent. I haven't followed. I probably have to look that up, but I don't know of any recent thing. No, you need to understand. If it's a lot of libel and slander cases. The reason why they become cases is because very often the complainant went to the offending publication or media house or whatever and just requested a simple thing, a retraction and an apology.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
And had they done that, it would never go to court.
Well, that's the case that's the situation with the Fox News and this election.
Yes.
Now, because
all they had to do was to do a retraction.
They
made a mistake, and that's it.
They asked them to cease and desist. They knew it was false, and they kept publishing. So that's going to be a landmark case, whichever way it goes. A
lot of times they ask a retraction of the information that is out there. And persons just feel that it's too big.
And you can't put the retraction at the end.
No, it should really be given the same weight. Yes. Which is something that a lot of people will do. They kind of like bury it somewhere inside.
I've seen that happen so many times. Go ahead.
Joseph is trying to say something.
I should come in here.
Yes, go ahead.
Recently, I had the experience that when I and Martin Felix and so on, we organized something, Friends of Youth and Big Drum organized something on crime and violence. I don't know if they'll but tune into that one, because it was highlighted in that Cool Pot restaurant in New York also. But anyway, and when the report on it, a story was being done, I had the most unusual experience where we were asked to send a photo of myself. So I asked people who have photo of me to give me. And well, one of the first things is that the photos are not too clear. Then they said, okay, we need authorization. We need to know who is courtesy of who. And that was for the first time. And Martin explained to me that was because of copyright and
copyright, correct.
And this is not practice in Grenada. No, I'm not no, what I'm saying, I'm not big on globalization, but people then abuse that situation in Grenada. Anybody can take a picture without your permission and do things. The Nation in the States, the Nation magazine or publication in the States did a interview with me and a few people in 1999. And in 2000, I remember getting a call from them, or later that same year, asking me if I would approve based something was written on me. And the only person that used to do that at one time in Grenada is Leslie Fair.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you're raising there is an important thing in Grenada. Copyright exists everywhere, included in Grenada. The problem is that nobody respects it. Yeah. And I know for years when Talk Shop was like, when Talk Shop was a big thing, I mean, there were a lot of people who complained about when they post their pictures there, that there were newspapers in Grenada that were taking their pictures and they didn't even have the common decency to credit the person
for the story. Yeah.
And you're supposed to do that. I mean, if these people want it really and truly, I guess probably they don't have the means, or they probably doesn't want to go through the hassle of suing the paper for copyright infringement. You know what I mean? They could have done that.
Yeah.
The reality is yes, and that is it. Anything you go to use from somebody, a work that is not yours, you're supposed to get the person's permission.
And even they don't give you they don't give you permission. You have to write. They give them the credit on the piece.
On the piece.
You have to
notice, right? And so, and that's one of the things that you would notice now. I mean, we live in a different age where, I mean, in the old days, the media house would go out, they would shoot whatever, and if they get stuff, they had to, and if you look at television here, if they use somebody else's video, they will see they have courtesy, whatever the station is. Now that you have social media, and they use a lot of
content
from what individual regular citizens post, you would see even a picture tonight. I saw it up to tonight. There was a story on the tornado in Mississippi and the damage that it was done, and there was a picture on somebody that they spoke of, and the picture was there, and it had courtesy the person who took that picture.
Yeah.
Because you have to give the person credit. It is not your work.
Not your work.
But that is a whole nother discussion, because people in places like Grenada, because I mean, yes, I know, we talk about pictures and stuff here, but there's the issues with artists, calypsonians, their work. People take their work, they make tapes, and then they sell it on the side of the street, and nobody does anything about that. I have a very dim view about that stuff. I remember many times, I go to Grenada, and it's not only in Grenada, because I've seen it in other places too.
Yeah, you have it in Canada here.
Yeah, people come up with these bootleg CDs and tapes and whatever, and they come and they want you to buy it. And tell them, shut up, I'm not doing that. I don't buy that stuff.
The biggest bootleg is the African movies. People selling them all over the place.
There's a Grenadian young man from Grenada who has a huge following on Facebook, and I've seen he's more or less of a comedian, I would say, but sometimes he posts decent articles, and surprisingly, earlier in the week he sent me a friend request, and I accepted. So I'm seeing more of his posts, and he took a famous African proverb and he changed just the last word on it and posted it like it was his thinking. Okay. Very famous African proverb about nobody tests the river with both feet at the same time. All right. And so when I saw it, I just said, this is I commented on his post. This is a famous African proverb, so you should give credit when you do that, And I think his primary audience on Facebook, and I hate to say it that way, is probably the less informed, not well read. So, they would not pick out an African proverb, like that. And he was very upset with me for I blew up his spot, so to speak, But you have to have respect for people's work,
Yeah.
You have to do that. Go ahead.
And support Margaret again. Margaret talk about the bootlegging and some people selling whether they don't sell compact CD anymore. I don't know.
Right.
But I think going back to the former Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister.
Your video kind of shifting away from the screen.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
There was a time when people openly allowed to sell pirated material in town. And I was wondering whether his opposition to the data protection bill might have something to do with that, in the sense that some people still get away using people's material to make a living. So
but does that bill though cover that type of thing, or does it specifically pertain to personal information, personally identifiable information, like your banking records, your medical information? I don't think it covers works of art and stuff.
I don't think
under your copyright laws.
I know that, but I'm saying that for the constituency, for his constituency, I don't mean his electoral constituency.
Okay.
I'm talking about the people who support him.
Mm-hmm.
It could reach them, and Delbert said earlier, people who follow the guy on the Facebook, they're not some people who are well informed, and it could be. It is not meant for the intelligent, but it's meant for the not so intelligent. I hope I'm not reading.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just pull a Donald Trump on us there, man.
My word. Yes.
But listen, these things are important building blocks in getting to the kind of society that you want to live in. So it may seem insignificant, but if you don't have these sort of norms that eventually get codified into law and built around different institutions of governance, you do end up with chaos. You do end up with a breakdown in society. And while the law may not seem to be geared to bring in any, it's not probably considered a job creating bill or something about people's personal security or focus on any one aspect of the economy. These laws are very, very important in terms of how we live as a people in the society that we exist in, and the one that we're trying to get. So like all of us have said it, that maybe they need to not necessarily go back to the drawing board, but to since it has generated quite a lot of interest in the public, it might be a good time to, the Prime Minister to have a few town halls, or maybe have a national town hall where he addresses the nation and takes questions from people, and so they can get a feel for what, or put up some suggestion boxes in government offices and other places that are popularly visited, and have people put this suggestion in, put the bill on hold, whether it's for a 90 days period of review, and see what yes, we may have a situation where our people are not focused on these things, or we might even criticize them for being sort of low information consumers of information. But the reality is that you have to pass legislation that kind of reflects your people, who they are, and where you want to take them. So, somebody may not have a thorough understanding of what's going on now, or how the bill is written, the legalese, that it's written in, doesn't mean that they're not interested in the end product. So they should revisit it. And I mean, listen, I remember in 1980 when we passed the anti-terrorism law, even that, which was done on an emergency basis, there were consultation on it.
Yeah, there was. I want. Go ahead.
I think this could be a lesson for the administration. They have done much better than the rest, than the gang. I call it the
gang.
The gang. Anyway, but they have done much more in terms of they have engaged people in a number of things. Although I mean, a lot needs to be done. I mean, in terms of need to get things that are better done. And part of the problem is that the personnel, and I mean, some people don't know what they're about anyway. But it would be the momentum that has been created. You see, I would urge the government not to let this geriatric politician who I'm saying it after the German professor.
He cracked me up.
So, and not to let him to take the, to sort of set the narrative. I mean, we need a data production bill, but we need to also make sure that people are not put at a disadvantage. And what I say here now, without using the word geriatric, I said the same thing on GBN a few days ago. We need to ensure that, I mean, people are not compromised in any way, but at the same time, We have to do what's best for us.
What
Yeah.
if,
World,
what if,
we
how,
live in a globalized world now, and we have to, because we may not see it, we may not see the benefit of that now. But what if some creature come from outside and try to steal information from our people? How will we deal with it?
how come we have a threshold to vote and serve? I think you have to be a certain age to run for office, right? I think
I think either 18 or 21 or something.
21, 18.
Yeah, I think you have to 18 to vote and 21 to run for office, something to that effect. I stand corrected on that. So we should have a threshold on when you can't run anymore.
Well, I believe the professor is, as he was saying, he was describing, he says I'm 71, and I wouldn't go to run for a thing because I can't move as I used to be able to move. I mean, even my thought process is a little slower. I may see things a little much more accurately or whatever. But I mean, get somebody younger. You could be an advisor. Although our guy cannot be advisor.
No.
He cannot because he's not a team player. He's not a team player.
Yeah.
That's not in his DNA.
No. He's not part of that generation that want to be a team player. He want to be the star.
No. His ultimate wish is to die in office. That's it.
No, but he can avoid it where, based on the psychological limitation, he can only function at the level of being on top.
Okay.
and Delma Thomas, late father, told me that one time. He said, look at the other side. Most of the folks are equal. They could compete against themselves. He said, look at NMP. Only one man star.
You know something? We had discussed that here before, right? They accuse NDC of having training leaders all the time. They have a pool to draw from, and the democratic process in the party was evident, right? But what means they did it. They was able to vote a new leader in, a new leader out, right? At the convention. NDC NMP does not do that. Even now, they're not even trying to have a convention. They keep putting it back because
can't afford to
do it right now. He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose it, and that's the big fear factor. As we shift from that, and we talk about politics and world economics. Want to drop into that? I'm going to start off with this part because I see a posting and I kind of contribute towards it. With the same Delma Thomas story there, and with her being so-called not being part of NMP anymore, the general secretary of the party NMP made a statement to GBN that did not expel her. She's still a member of the party, but I think technically, some circles are alleging that she's out of the party, and persons are calling for her to leave the party. I think the guy from St. Patrick's, what's his name again? Help me here. The activist.
My good friend Andrew
Jerome.
Andrew, yeah.
Donald, yes, my partner. Yeah, MP activist called for three times MP Delma Thomas to resign. He called for her to resign. And what I don't get, the former prime minister was asking for unity to work together. Remember during the COVID time and all of them, let us work together with all that stuff. Here is an interesting take. The senator who lost to Delma, Gloria Thomas, invited her to work along with her in the same constituency for the same benefit, the same people that they're serving. Right? And she accepted the opportunity to serve in that capacity as the MP, the elected MP. Right? She's not left out, she's invited, and you have a problem with that.
That was not let's work together. That was do what I say.
No, but
you remember after Hurricane Ivan, when them fellas, the opposition say we willing to help to build back Grenada, and I think it's in one of the California, maybe Scholar song, when he said that that in Trinidad, but before the ink or whatever could dry,
the truck dust.
Two man rat can live in the same hole.
Yeah.
Remember? So it's somebody who says the opposite, who does the opposite to what he says. He's not. I mean, when I see if people don't have memory, this man destroy TNP. He destroyed TNP. even the GLP, he grabbed people from them, whether it's Anthony, what his name is, let me not. But all the people, Michael Baptiste, Clarence Rapier, all of them, grab them. Why didn't lead them? And you see, this man is such a creature. He's so disrespectful too. Hear this. When Miss Winifred Straughn was opposition leader, that man showed the greatest respect to this lady. She wasn't this big talker, she wasn't this prolific person, but she was the opposition leader. This man stood up in Parliament in the first budget debate that the then newly NDC government had, and spoke for more than 2 days. Tell me something. Is that what you could have said in 2 hours, or even in an hour? Come on, and that's a leader. That's somebody who was, or else, and when the honorable speaker Maguire told him to withdraw a statement he had made that he couldn't prove, and as with practice in Parliament, if you say a statement and you can't back it up, you have to withdraw it. He did not. When he was being ushered out of the Parliament, what he did, turn wrong and tell the speaker, yes, they're paying you to do that.
Yeah, do what you want, do what you want.
They're paying you to do that. That's a leader? Come on.
You know,
anyway, let me leave him there.
So
I get emotional because you see, I don't know why people can't see the evil in this man. Trust me.
Okay, so here we are, and I think long-term NNP activists raised alarm over Dr. Thomas' absence at the parliamentary sitting, citing it as a disrespect to the party that she did not inform her opposition colleague that she would not be attending. Everyone expects the executive member of the National Democratic Congress though she was going to come and attend the parliamentary sitting, said Donald, who spoke of being well informed that those of the government side of the House, knew she was not going to come. I mean, I don't know how you get information.
The only protocol that she has to observe is to inform the Speaker of the House.
The House, exactly. Yeah. So they're making this clan thing that you have to
anything else is a courtesy.
Yeah, inform the clan leader that you would not be coming in. You know what I mean? Like, no, I mean that's why it's comical, you know. And the film what is like Deborah says, it's a control factor that when you say walk with he, let's just walk together is about him. You know, you're not genuinely want to work together. I mean, here is a young lady who realized, look, she get invited to work together and to continue the work that she was doing in the constituency. And you're talking about she disrespect the party and the leader and stuff. Come on, she's working in her constituency. She was not ignored. She was invited to continue working. And how dare you call her a traitor? I mean,
I have seen nothing that she has done that's disrespectful to her party or to the people of Grenada, and certainly not to her constituents. And I think I've said that before already. One of my long-time NDC stalwart who is very objective is in his analysis of everything Grenada, long told me that if there was anybody on the NNP side that he could work with, was this lady. He says she comes to this thing with a big heart. She's genuine. She does her best to serve her community. And she does a fairly good job, has done a fairly good job over the years of resisting that kind of tribalism in her constituents. And I think that's a testament to why she keeps getting elected in that thing. So it's time for the Prime Minister to play play some cutthroat politics, you know. I would have moved to incorporate her into the NDC a long time ago.
Yeah.
Make her an offer she can't refuse.
But I don't know if I want to move her over. I think leave her there and let you run, you know. And
no, but she's going to find herself without a home very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I
Yeah.
agree with John. Leave her there. She ran on an NNP ticket. You know, I'm not one of these people that favor this crossing party lines and crossing the don't favor that, because the people in her as an NNP representative and do so to the best of her ability.
10-5 is a lot better than 9-6.
Yeah, but you see, yeah, there's a precedent over there. After the 1990 election, there was a fallout between the then opposition member. Well, he was not opposition leader. Of course, people had the impression that he was opposition leader from 1990. He was not. But there were two lone NNP people in the parliament, he and Malcolm Antoine. And they became estranged.
Yeah.
And Malcolm would have rather joined NDC, but my understanding is that the late Nicholas Baffett wasn't comfortable because of Malcolm
affiliation.
Affiliation. And in fact, what happened is that Malcolm took a lot of shielded this man a lot of the things that fell on Malcolm was really not Malcolm, gravel and concrete.
I know Malcolm personally. I grew up as one of his protege. Outside of the fact that he taught me geography in high school, and worked with him during the revolution. This is somebody I know personally, and Malcolm doesn't have any dishonest bone in him. So I knew that he took the rap, and he's the kind of guy who is not going to really push back because he believes, ultimately people are going to know the truth about me. So I have no obligation to defend myself. That's the kind of approach that he has. But yeah, I agree with you. Antoine. That's exactly how he ended up taking the heat for all of Keith malfeasance.
So I agree with Margaret that probably we shouldn't encourage for a coup crossing the floor, but here it is.
Yeah, but we have a long history. We have a long history of that. You remember Dr. Friday?
I'm coming to that. The thing about it, we are told that people are not elected into parliament. I mean, they're not in parliament on the basis of parties. They are there. There are two sides of the floor. There's the government side, then the non-government side. And you don't have to be in the official opposition to be on the opposition side, as we see in other countries. And we have seen like Michael Baptiste was for a while. He became no, let me not go there. But there are people who end up dropping out from a party, a particular ruling party, and stayed in the background. I think Kenny Lansing was one such person. He was, when the last time he fell out a grace with the NDC, when he was caught with when that incident with the musical stuff, he and the other guy, he was in parliament still. But he was playing a quiet role, and probably that's a role maybe Delma could play in parliament. But I'm saying that we don't really necessarily have to join government, but they have to support her in our constituency as much as possible. It's just support,
I think she's well positioned to win the next election. I think the whole idea is to ensure that she get the tools that she need to continue serving and bringing benefits to the people. As an MP, as the elected MP, they're support her because they will need that support in Parliament on the opposition side. And she's been very, very clear that she's not hiding anything. And when they come up with for example, the $150, there was ranting what they took away from them. They say, look, we didn't budget for it. Okay, and she told her constituency that look, that would not be forever. It's only 1 year. It wasn't budgeted for. She's been very clear, very open about that. And the NDC had to go back and get $8 million to continue the program for the rest of the year. So when they're making talk, I think one of those other talk shows in grade, I think the Talking Point, who probably again my show name have been used as a new show as well. saying that the government didn't consult, that nobody consult the people. She said, no, I told those people in advance that's going to happen. It's just a temporary measure to put in place over COVID. It's only for 1 year. So when the opposition making this thing that the NNP taking money from people, people need the money, and the Prime Minister, I think the former Prime Minister making the same declaration, calling on the show one morning, making the same thing, oh, people need the help, and why now? And the government could retract and continue the payment, right? But I don't see taking her out from NNP to put her in NDC. I think she could stay there and make her contribution from the side of the aisle, but continue to work together.
Also, I would like to make a little picture and say that there's an African proverb that said, I learned that in 1978, that said, don't spend the evening where you can't spend the night.
I like that one.
Don't spend the evening where you can't spend the night.
I will have to go through. Is that an Igbo or a Ghanaian? Which one?
I don't know if it's an Igbo or Ghanaian. I learned that from the Ethiopian travel publication at the time. It was African proverb, and it was in the Ethiopian travel brochure at the time. I learned it in 1970.
Okay. So Margaret, you heard that, right?
It sounds very like an Igbo proverb, So, but listen, you guys are taking the high road. I'm going politics 101. I'm going for
going for the truth.
Yeah, I'm taking the cutthroat approach to this. I don't know how important that would be in Grenada, but generally that's considered a major political coup when you get a leading candidate from one party to switch. For me, it would serve two purposes. Okay, she has enormous support in her constituents, and despite what the efforts to undercut her, it appears that she has even become more popular in her constituency and across the country.
Yes, I also believe that not the majority of executive members is dissing her. I think just a few of them doing that. All right.
Yeah, those that are dependent on the political patronage.
Yeah, of the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, and so on. I think there is a sort of a quiet revolution happening within the NNP. We always spoke about that prior to they losing the election, right? And they have this thing going on inside a long time ago. I think it just becoming more self-evident.
That was my second point. That doing that would send shivers through NNP. They're going to try to brush it off. They're going to try to say it doesn't matter. He's going to be as usual. It is geriatric bluster. But the reality is that if NNP was able to pull off that coup, it would send a strong message that, that basically we're coming after you,
Yeah. And, I think the former Prime Minister have a little bit of fear that he will lose his seat and position of power within the party if he holds a convention tomorrow. He will not win it. I think he knows that. He knows that very well.
Well, even in his constituency, this is the closest election he has had in many cycles.
Yeah.
So that in itself, must have made him very, very, very nervous.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah.
The only reason he's not calling a convention is that he's not comfortable what the results are going to be.
Yeah.
If he was 100% comfortable what the results were going to be, he would have called it long to sort of put his final stamp on the party. But
look, if he had gotten the Dr. Pierre report beforehand, he would never call an election. You know that? No. He will never call election
he prefers to listen to what's his name out of Barbados.
Yes, and he got wrong information, wrong data. He got this data with the confidence that he's gonna go in there 15-0 again, and then Dr. Pierre show up with his report right in just the 2 days before that we have discussed here before the election that NP gonna lose and they will only win 6 seats. Where they're gonna win and by how much? and Dr. Pierre was able to nail it. And the Bajan political analyst was way off. I think they look up to him as a pollster that was able to do something, but he was unscientific. He was just gestating, for lack of a better word, the NP going to win 15 seats again. And that was a big mistake they made, miscalculating. So, yeah.
But before you go, let me end up here. You see, this man have used so many people. Do you remember when the Honorable Bola was sowing and he would probably could have been considered maybe their parent, the former prime minister? And what happened?
Yeah.
Once
put him in the backseat.
Once Peter David came in the party, what he did? He withdrew, took him out of the government
ministry,
put him in the party so that he could be a marco for Peter, so that didn't have a free hand.
Yeah.
Because, people don't understand that and then Mr. Bola was saying that he takes a holiday. I mean, he's retiring, but we know that wasn't true. Look the role he's playing up to now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he uses people who want to be used.
Right.
And dumb them later like Mark Isaac. Hello.
Yeah. Margaret, we've been talking.
But Joseph, wasn't somebody else promised that constituency also?
But I don't know about the St. Andrews one.
Margaret, our good friend.
Which one?
Our good Seventh-day Adventist friend.
Oh, please.
Yeah, he was promised that constituency.
Really?
What happened to him?
Well, like Joe said
He's
so
still
correctly.
waiting.
He uses you when he needs you. He'll make you a promise, one of convenience, and when he doesn't think that you're useful to him again, then he just discards you.
So let me hear from Margaret in terms of Miss Delma Thomas. You and I probably on the same page at leave where she is at. Do you think politically that her present state within the party is a welcoming one, that she should remain there? Because obviously there will be some posturing on both sides of within the party, whether they want her or not. And some party supporters think she's a traitor and she's not good anymore. She's been ungrateful to the prime minister and so on. There are those saying that she didn't. The vehicle she used to get where she's at is a party vehicle, but the people voted her to represent them, and she's doing that for the people. What do you say to those persons within that opposition structure that think that she's a traitor and she disrespects the prime minister and so on, the former prime minister?
I don't think she's a traitor, and I think I've said this before. I mean, if not here, but certainly in discussions with other people. Delma Thomas's responsibility is to the people who elected her to represent them in Parliament. And in my opinion, that comes before any party thing or whatever. She's responsible to all those people who voted for her in her constituency and those who didn't too, because the reality is that when you're elected, you're elected to serve both those who voted for you and those who didn't vote for you.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that does not happen in our situation because, we're so polarized and so tribalized and everything else that you could think of. But basically, that is what she's there to do. I'm sure they knew that she was a member of the NMP, and one can argue that they probably voted for her. Yeah, there may be people who voted for her because they supported the NMP party and that was the representative. But I'm sure there are people who voted for her because they knew her, she was a decent person and may not have cared for NMP, but they cared for her and they voted for her.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that. Another thing I want to ask you though, because any one of you could answer it in order. Having she being who she is at this time in politics, right? Could she, if the NDC decides in the next election, do not put a representative there to run, don't contest that seat, Leave it. That's how we win it for political mileage. You think that would be a good idea, Margaret?
I don't know. I mean, and what happens? I mean, wasn't there something on the post that she posted that they had announced a different person as a caretaker for that?
Well, I heard it didn't. According to the report I saw today, there was no coming from the general secretary of the party. There's no caretaker selected. She is still a member of the party. She hasn't been put out or anything like that. Even no claims that been made that she had been thrown out.
That might be the general secretary going out on a limb by himself.
Exactly.
Because the general secretary is kind of walking a tightrope there. He wants to be in the so-called progressive wing of the NNP, but yet still he owes his rise to power to the prime minister. But he's savvy enough to know now that Keith's sell-by date has passed, so that he has to kind of look to the future, you know. So he might be speaking for himself. The reality is that nobody in this party have the authority to speak on behalf of the party but Dr. Mitchell.
No, but to answer that question, John, whether they should allow nobody to run, maybe that might be a good tactic. But I think what should happen is to help us consolidate right now, so that if in the event, I think there may come a time leading up to the next election where they probably could invite us to be part of the party, or understanding that you could run independent and we would support you. We get our people to support
Exactly.
As was the case in Northwest. In 1996. I mean, sorry, 1976, when there was an independent candidate in the person of Blanche Sylvester, when the People Alliance, and she ran as an independent, but this one came close to winning. I mean, you know, compared to the other candidates before her, with the understanding that once the People's Alliance wins, she would have become part of them.
Yeah, so I forgot about that, man. You're bringing back some
yeah. Yeah. So
in fact, I was involved at that level, even though I wasn't allowed to vote because I was going to turn 18 later the same month when the election was held. But I was part of that.
You didn't reach drinking age yet, man. Come on.
neither was I, you know.
This is funny because I campaign and sell and do all kind of things for the 72 and 76 election. And election day, I can't do nothing. I just
can't vote. You can't vote.
Yeah, do diddly squat. Yeah.
We
did that though. I mean, a lot of us did the same.
A lot of us did that. Yeah.
Nothing, you know. I remember a couple of the real stalwart Gary Wright people in the village laughing at me on the day. They say, "Why don't you come and vote? Let we arrest you."
A lot of us could not vote, but But
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree that could be a good strategy because she would pick up the NDC support. She would pick up a lot of NNP support, even though if she retains, let's say, 25 or 30% of her current support, then she'll be unbeatable.
But also, you have to bear in mind also that she might even have a food failing. I mean, NNP most likely might even disintegrate faster than we may think.
Yeah, downward spiral, you know.
All kind of things can happen. They could end up like the Gary party because, I mean, this man has been so dominant. I mean, there's been no room. I've heard a story when the issue of Peter David came up, and one time in a meeting, he said to Peter, well, understand that the other thing about there should be succession and things. So, well, ask them. You ask them who wants to support Peter. Nobody in the group, in the meeting or in the gathering, nobody supported Peter.
Yeah, well, they'll be scared there.
They'll be scared to do that.
They'd be stupid to do that.
Yeah.
No secret ballot. But
so
listen.
I'm saying that to say that in the end, there'll be nobody. If he up for whatever reason, no, there'll be a scramble for who to be leader, and then it would really not be good for.
No, if anything was to happen to him, even if when it came to a situation where the party was the party is stagnated right now. It's in decline. Okay, that's why he has this 12 to 15 very aggressive, destructive people on Facebook posting all kind of crazy stuff, making up all kind of stories. But should anything happen to him personally, okay, the party will disintegrate because there'll be a massive fight. There probably 2 or 3 wings within the party now. You have the Peter David wing, you have the Emlyn Pear wing, and you probably have
you have the kid wing, the Emlyn, the Delma Thomas thing which in there.
But I don't think Delma Thomas would play in that. I think the other person that would play in that is Modest Cohen. Cohen.
Oh yeah.
No, but I don't think once he goes, he wouldn't be there. You see, let me not go there because I might get myself in trouble. But I don't think she have a mind of her own. Trust me.
Oh.
No, she's a good prop for the guy, for the leader, but I don't think she have a mind of her own. I don't think she could no, maybe Bola, probably Bola. Bola is a more.
Yeah, but at one time she had designs on becoming the leader.
Yeah, but I don't think that is fashionable now for her.
Yeah, and that was not her own one thing. That was a kind of front for the leader.
Well, she wants it to be given to her on a platter.
Yeah, but that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
that wouldn't happen. Okay, guys, we do a lot of green here. I want to stop before we get out of here. To deal with the international forum. We saw over the last week or so, we saw many changes in Europe and the Middle East, where there is peace deal brokerage within countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia and Syria, and Russia have been brokering deal with this country and that country, and we have Iran and Saudi Arabia, Syria and Saudi Arabia, I think too. This deals with China and doing that, and Russia doing this. And you have the Indian Prime Minister, India, and you have all the other Brazil and stuff, joining forces with China and Russia and using buying oil. Trading in oil. I think Saudi Arabia now is not trading oil with the US dollars anymore. So that's another thing again. Where do we see this peace brokerage going in? What is it? What is it for?
You say Brazil and who has joined?
Brazil and let me see. Hold on, let me put it up here. Brazil, India,
South Africa.
Yes.
Well, they're part of the so-called BRIC Nation.
BRIC Nation, yeah.
Which is just a thing. It's a thing. It has never really materialized.
No, they're doing quite a bit.
They do that now.
BRIC is still just a thing. It has never really materialized to what. Okay,
there's some momentum that you're not getting. There's some momentum that is taking place right now. No, listen to me, please. There's some momentum that is now taking place that you're not hearing from the Western media. Trust me.
There's a lot of stuff. Delbert, I'll send you some information.
Hear me out on that. First thing, BRIC was not conceived by those nations. BRIC was a Goldman Sachs creation. Let's get that straight.
Right.
That was created in a think tank inside Goldman Sachs. So let's not forget where it got started, okay? So let's not act like this thing was something.
But given
BRIC is still just a thing. BRIC is still just a thing.
But right now, we see what's happening in the Middle East, that Russia and China is brokering deals and peace deals with former enemies, right? Hold on.
John, Russia is not in a position to broker any deals with anybody.
They just did it. They just did it.
On what? On what? What? Okay, what do they have to offer?
What?
What do you mean, what they have to offer?
They have all the oil. I mean, not the oil, the energy sources that.
That's it.
Oh, that's what, and the people want the oil too. That's what, and listen to me.
Yeah, but how are you gonna broker a deal with somebody in the Middle East for oil when they have all the oil they need?
No. That's just not just about oil, about creating alliances. You know, and recently the America has been out of those alliances, creating and merging those countries that was foes before.
The countries that are involved in that are pretty insignificant. Russia is not in a. But listen, let's be honest about this thing. Russia is not in a position to make any bilateral arrangement where any other country is going to benefit from them tremendously. When you look at what happened with the Sino-Russian summit this week, Russia came out the loser.
Yep.
He was totally subservient to what's his name, to Xi.
No,
okay.
It depends.
Hold on. And now Russia has been forced to sell their oil, the abundance of oil, even cheaper to China. So China is raping them.
You know what?
That's from a Western point of view, but if
that is not from a Western point of view. That is what's happening with what's happening with the oil traders.
So let me say this here, because I try to be as broad as possible from long. When you see the Americans are frustrated with India, for instance, since last year, because India refused to be bullied. That's one. Two, South Africa. I mean, they're doing everything to destroy South Africa right now. Sending Afghan so-called refugee that they left behind create trouble down there. In addition to that, I think more than ever, as one of those people said that, and even some of the same, people, American citizens and European citizens are saying, look, America is a loser. Is a loser, and the West is a loser because they are making wrong decisions. Right now, I've heard this Blinken or whatever his name is. It's saying we have to criminalize the relationship between China and Russia. We have to put them on the thing list, and because property, they even in Mexico. I mean, they're doing all kind of things. I mean, because they're losing. They're saying it's not working. I've heard
that is not an objective analysis.
No,
because
but I'm not.
You don't even have to make. Listen, I'm not no fan of NATO. I'm not going into this blind eye or anything. But the reality is that NATO is stronger today than it was a year ago.
Again, depending on who you get in. If you listen to Scott,
not who you get in it's not who. The fact that they have admitted. Well, Finland, Sweden is about to come in. Finland shares an 800-mile border with Russia. For all our existence, okay, Finland has always remained neutral. Okay?
Not necessarily. No, there was a time leading up to the Second World War. They did that. Not always.
Well, yeah,
that served, and it served them.
Yeah, but since since the Second World War, they have remained neutral. Okay, in essence, they've always been pro-Western, right? But they have remained neutral. They have always maintained really, really good relationship with the Soviet Union. The twice I went to Soviet Union, on both times I went through Helsinki. Okay, so they've always maintained really, really good relationship
with Russia.
With Russia and previous to the Soviet Union. Now you have them because of how they perceive that action to be in Ukraine, immediately applying for membership into NATO and joining NATO. How doesn't that make them a stronger organization? Once they get Erdogan to get over his final objection, Sweden is going to become a full-time member.
Okay, I want to listen to this piece. I want to listen to this piece. Just with the Russian peace deal with Saudi Arabia and Syria. Here it is.
Diplomatic ties, and Russia is said to be brokering the deal. Earlier this month, Iran and Saudi Arabia came together, and China claimed to have brokered that deal. So two major developments, and the US was out of both of them. It seems peace is coming to West Asia, and it's coming without the help of American firepower. The significance of this for the region and the world cannot be overstated. Let's tell you what happened yesterday. Reports said Syria and Saudi Arabia were resuming ties.
A source in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs revealed to Al Ikhbariya that ongoing talks have started with the Syrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In a comment on what was circulating by some international media, the source said that within the kingdom's keenness to facilitate necessary consular services to the people, a discussion is underway between officials in the kingdom and their counterparts in Syria about resuming the provision of consular services.
The deal is still work in progress. It's expected to be sealed after Eid al-Fitr. That's on the 21st of April. And there are still apprehensions that it may not sail. But the progress so far and the fact that it's happening is a big step forward. You see, Syria has been a pariah state. It's ruled by President Bashar al-Assad. I say ruled and not led because he's not shown much leadership, frankly. For over a decade now, the Arab world has cut ties with him. It happened after the Arab Spring of 2011. Assad unleashed a brutal crackdown on protesters. His actions led to a civil war, a war that is still going on. The Arabs began calling for Assad's ouster. They began supporting the rebels in Syria. The rebels were fighting the Syrian regime, Assad's regime. So Gulf nations and the US supported these rebels. Then Russia and Iran entered the picture. They supported the Assad regime. And the tide of the civil war turned. The fighting has been on for more than 10 years, like I said. Entire cities have been razed to the ground. Millions have fled their homes. But Assad has clung to power. And he's done so with the help of Russia. Recently, he visited Moscow. And there he spoke about the need to rebalance the world order.
Our stance doesn't only stem from the strong friendship that we have, nor does it stem from the loyalty you have shown us. Our stance comes from the world's need today for rebalance. Otherwise, the world will head toward explosion and destruction.
It's a bit rich coming from a man who gassed his own people to death. But in politics, past crimes are forgotten to pursue future gains. And so Syria is being welcomed back into the Arab fold. Iran and Saudi Arabia have buried the hatchet. Russia and Saudi Arabia have joined hands to control the oil market. So a proxy war in Syria does not make sense anymore. The Saudis are talking. The Russians want to play peacemakers, and the Syrians may be able to end their global isolation. Basically, it suits everyone, except for the US, which is nowhere in the picture. In the last few weeks, Bashar al-Assad has been traveling. He visited the UAE and Oman. They made it look like a post-earthquake outreach. You know, apart from Turkey, Syria also suffered because of the quakes last month, and the Arabs are now giving humanitarian assistance. But this was also a way to re-induct Assad into the international fold. And Saudi Arabia is leading this front, this effort. Its foreign minister said there is growing consensus that Syria should be brought back into the Arab League. Syria was booted from the League in 2011. Now it may rejoin. The next Arab League summit will be held in the month of May, and the Saudis will host it. Where does all of this leave the US? What is America doing while the West Asian countries realign? America is bombing Syria. It carried out multiple airstrikes last night.
John,
Yeah.
This is nauseating. This is not analysis. Is it that girl from Gravitas?
Yes.
Come on, man. Come on, we're better than that.
Yeah,
This is
but
nonsense.
this is what happening though.
Listen,
US allies.
this is what she telling you what's happening.
No.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this question. Okay? Do you seriously think that this unholy alliance now between between Saudi Arabia and Iran is going to hold. Do you really think that?
Why make you feel you would not be held up though? What's your rationale for that though?
Because fundamentally they believe in different things.
And also
Sunni and Shia.
The other reason why I am tending to agree with Delbert on that thing is that religion plays a very important part in that part of the world, and you're looking at two different branches of Islam that does not agree. So inevitably, the clash comes.
Let's go. I think when enemies come together to fight one common enemy.
But John,
I think they came together, and let me tell you something. This is not about fighting a common enemy. This is about keeping oil prices inflated so that they could make money. That's what it is. So there's no altruism there or anybody trying to keep anything at peace. The Saudis want to maintain a certain lifestyle and make a certain amount of money, and they're capitalizing on that. They want to make sure that they keep the oil prices at a certain level. Okay. That's what it is. The US wants the Saudis. The US wants the Saudis to increase production and drop prices. The Saudis decide they ain't doing that. They're cooperating with Russia in order to keep the prices artificially high.
But let's get this straight. Okay. If the US pulls out the support for the royal family in Riyadh, they are out of power.
That is true.
That is also true. That is also true.
That is also true.
So all they're doing now is pushing the envelope to a certain point, but their very existence is dependent on the US.
No, but also the US power has dwindled. People don't understand.
The US power has not dwindled. What the US has done masterfully, or is attempting to do, is to pivot to where the new power center all that's happening in that part of the world is war and fighting. What the US is doing is pivoting to Asia.
Correct.
That's where the new power center is going.
That's where their focus is.
Yes.
That's really
that girl from Gravitas is Joe. You remember Daigo and Brizani Chantimel?
Yeah. Daigo was my uncle.
Exactly. Yeah. So she's the Daigo of modern day social media.
But still, I mean, there's a lot of things that is taking place in the world. If you listen to Scott Witzer was this guy that was a weapon inspector. He gave an analysis, and with his analysis, for instance, what he said right now, it's happening like where the war in Ukraine, what they were promoting, the West was promoting, is not happening. Russia is in the ascendancy now. So there is, and then the US Senate, they're not going to give money anymore. Like even I heard some congressional thing this evening.
So let me ask this question.
Delbert, let the boy speak.
Let me ask this question.
Hold on.
No, it's just a question.
But let him finish and then ask the question. You know, I had to rein you in sometimes.
because
I was listening tonight, this evening, questioning of Bluntkin in the Senate, one of the American institutions. And what one of the men, maybe the chairman of the committee, or he was saying, had we impose a sanction prior to the invasion, maybe we could have stick China, now hold them or even for aiding and abetting crime against humanity, because they're supporting, they're defeating our purpose, they're defeating the very act that we've taken. It's been discussed in the parliament, in the US, political establishment right now. Additionally, there's this guy, McGregor, a former chief of staff or whatever it is. This man, although he's he's right wing, yes, but some of the things that he's given is so true. It's seen, if you're not just following the BBC and CNN and Fox and them, it's happening. It's like he said, look, France is on fire. You hear anything about that in the West? It's on fire.
Well, I can't. That's not true. That's not true, because I have heard enough reports about France.
No, we're saying that the demonstration, they're on the street. I was speaking to
I've heard enough stories here. NPR has done an extensive thing on that. There have also been substantial reports within New York Times and other major newspapers here, and also the networks have also carried demonstrations in France.
Yeah, but not. It's like, for instance, look what happened in South Africa last week. South Africa was shut down. What do you hear from the West? Nothing, because they don't like South Africa stand on.
Well, I don't want to say that, and I'm going to say that. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say that I'm going to speak from a pure journalism perspective here now. The question is, where's the news value? You understand? And when I say that, it may be of importance to Africa. I mean, but is it important here? Yeah. You know, is it important to your audience here? And when I'm in a newsroom and I'm putting my cast together, I have to ask myself, you know, what is important to my particular audience? That is basically how you make a judgment, which is not to say that you don't carry an international story, but you know, how much prominence it is given is really determined. You know, proximity is one of the things that determines whether or not something is given a certain level of prominence. Does a strike in South Africa, for example, come to the top of the lead story on my newscast here in New York City? No. No,
and it would not, because it doesn't serve the interests of the American people, right?
Exactly.
But if you look on an international basis, right? If, for example, when America wanted to demonize a country, no matter what it is, they want to go into a place and destroy it, they will soften the guns by informing people that these persons are wicked, they're crazy, they're delusional, and all this stuff to soften, to win the public interest. And you say, Margaret, is this beneficial to the audience here? And same thing on the reverse side, these people are doing it to the benefit and interest of their people as well, right?
Correct. I mean, and the reality is that that's what it is. I mean,
yeah.
The Russian reports on the war. I mean, look at their stories and their reports on the war. It's like, okay. I mean, you ban anybody from saying anything different. You tell people exactly what they're supposed to say, and if they don't say it, they're ending up in jail. I mean, we have to be realistic about some things.
Exactly.
You know?
But that also happening in the West as well, though.
Yeah.
Where's the equivalent in the West? Where's
exactly.
the
equivalent? Let me tell you something. You cannot. No. It's happening here. You cannot.
Where is the equivalent?
Even in Canada here, there's certain news you can't bring certain news here. On certain channels here.
And how many Canadian journalists has been pushed out of the third floor window?
Yeah, I mean, and how many?
You guys are just trading.
Hold on. Delbert.
You trading one colonial and imperialist power for another.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all the same. This is not the case. Delbert, you should know me better than that. I'm not trading no colonialism matter for anybody.
That's
okay,
exactly
let
Joseph
speak. Let Joseph speak. He's been trying to come in here.
Okay, let Joseph go ahead. Go ahead, Joseph.
You have to understand the genesis of what is happening. I mean, this world. In fact, I heard an English citizen living in Moscow talk about the address that Putin gave recently, and he said that he was amazed the amount of Americans who was listening to that speech at 3:00 in the morning. And an English woman told me that yesterday. I mean, she's no fan of Putin, but at least Putin is turning out to be the leader of the world now.
Of which world?
I don't know if that pushed that far.
No, wait. No, not that in the sense that that people understand. In the sense that he's doing what is need to be done at this time for his country.
What? Exactly what?
Defending Russia.
Putin is running a white nationalist, ultra-nationalist, white supremacy organization.
Delbert. All those powers that be in the G7 or G8 nation, they are white supremacist nations. Yeah. Let's be frank about
that. That's correct.
All them is. None of them is pardoned from it. What we do is try to analyze. Hold on. We're not trading nothing. We're not trading nothing. No. We just see what's happening around us.
No.
It's happening around us.
I'm fairly animated about this because Putin is a significantly diminished figure.
Mm.
That's
in the Western propaganda.
That is not in the West. That is not in the West. The only thing the guy has going from his 1,600 nuclear weapons.
No,
Delbert, this is not fair. This is not fair analysis. Hold on, Delbert. By the way, we have Hudson George here. Let's recognize Delbert, hold on.
This is a country that can still make a roll of toilet paper.
Hold on. But you're saying that we've been there before. Russia been friends of Grenada. You've been to the Soviet Union, and we were speaking of Soviet Union before. So why now trying to lambaste them? Hudson George.
Why try to lambaste them? Because the geopolitics has changed.
Oh, Delbert. Hold on. Hudson is here. Hudson. Welcome to Gem FM tonight.
You could hear me?
Yeah, yes. Welcome you to Gem FM Talking Point.
Well, I listen to you. Joseph Antoine.
Yeah.
Analysis is like you think the Soviet Union is still there. Then you guys talk about Finland. Russia and Finland fought war for a couple of months and they signed a treaty.
Yeah.
So Finland become non-aligned ones. They didn't used to take part in international politics because they were scared the Soviet Union will invade them again.
So they do that under duress.
Yeah, they were under duress.
Correct.
But for Putin and NATO, I was listening to a white journalist from the United States, and she'd been to one of the best schools in the US. And how she see Putin is, the West see Putin as not becoming part of the White Wall. She's saying that Russians are white people, but they don't think white. And that is the problem. So NATO, if NATO succeed in
Ukraine,
it's worse for Black people. Because, for instance, if you look at the world, all the countries with a dollar what's stable are white countries. We could name them. You name the EU, Britain, not Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia. Only Caucasian countries have good money. And where they have little territories, like the Cayman Island, Bermuda, Bahamas, you will find the dollar look good. So their aim is to get close to Russia, to squeeze Russia, because if you check the history of the capitalist world, when they get close, is to dismantle you. But Russia is harder to dismantle than Yugoslavia with Milosevic. So if they get into Ukraine, they have a good, and they bring NATO army there, they're going to make Ukraine become a nice Western country to attract Russians. To come in. So Putin is fighting a war he must fight. Plus, Russians are not, the Orthodox religion is not like the Western religion. They are Orthodox. And Orthodox, you guys talk about Iranian Islam and Saudi Islam, and they cannot unite. Yes, it's true. But there is what you call the Orthodox world and the Western Christianity. Because Greece, although Greece is in NATO, Greece support Russia to some extent based on religious doctrine. But Delbert, you saying that Russians are not industrious is not true. It's a culture. Russia didn't have a history of Russians good at making, all Europeans good at making machines, but it's the focus. Russia is not the type of country where they take the capitalist pathway where you make a machine.
I'm not saying they're not industrious. They are industrious.
No, it's the culture of Russia what is different
It's just what they choose to make, what industry they choose to stand
Yeah,
up.
they don't have the culture of they come to your place and they bring a machine to what could make 70,000 product one day, and they're working on a next machine.
You could probably help me out there.
Capitalism, the industry was not based on international exploitation.
Okay,
but they're
so
not
I remember in, I think it was 82 or 83, somewhere thereabout, could even be a year later. The then Russian defense minister, his name was Dmitry something. He was one of the leading members of the Politburo, obviously. And he made, in a statement, he said that if a tank rolled off the assembly line and everything didn't work, it has to go back and be finished. But if it was a blender for the Russian wife kitchen, he could care less about it.
Yeah, because it's the
culture. So here you have a situation. And like I say, this is still a country that can't make a good roll of toilet paper.
No, it's how they look.
I can't support that idea there, but I can't support that.
No, it's not that.
But you know what it is?
Culture. The Russian culture.
Well, okay. So what the culture tell you? That you don't have to use toilet paper?
No. Russian culture is the Russia become the biggest country in the world by they had a guy in jail, was a bad boy. And he told his Tsar, give him all the criminals in jail and we're gonna make a greater Russia. That's why Russia is so large.
Okay.
But Russians don't have a history like Britain, France, Portugal, Spain, and
that kind of commercial industrialization.
No, they have a different culture.
Yeah.
So, but they don't like Western life.
Don't tell that to those. They don't. Don't tell that to those who live in Occupy South Brooklyn.
Well, no.
They always a breakaway fraction.
But what you looking at? There are Cubans in Miami.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Right,
I'm not disputing that.
But Russians themselves don't think like Westerners.
Okay.
In fact, if I should come in here,
sure.
one of the things that the Americans thought would have happened is that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and by the way, Hudson, I know that the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, but they thought that after the Soviet Union collapsed, they could have made the Russians into a European or Western nation, and they have failed miserably.
Well, you can't really say they failed.
I don't think so. I think that I don't.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Of course, they have introduced corruption. I mean, they have encouraged corruption and all of that kind of thing in Russia. But Russia remained Russian because of Russia is not just a territory. Russia is about a nation. They are one of the Slavic people, and they know they know that they're Slav. They were never accepted as.
But they are not the only Slavic people in Eastern Europe.
But hold on though.
I know. So they have and then they will, as George said, the religion being Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, which is akin to the other Orthodox churches like Greece and Syria and all of them, Ethiopia and so on. But so the thinking, they see the American and they continue to make a big mistake. They made a mistake in
Americans are not making mistake, Joseph and White.
I want to know what the mistake. What's the mistake?
They're not making mistake. It's a culture. If America.
Yes, but let me finish here. They take a person apart from the culture and try to demonize it. If you hear all the things they're saying about Putin, the same Putin, they were glad when he came around. You know, they were glad when he came around. You know, like because with Yeltsin, I mean I don't want to go through the story and so on.
No, but we have to go through it. We have to go through it.
No, the West never liked it.
Because Putin,
but the West never liked nobody until they could use them.
No.
To their own interests. But the United States never really love anybody. They only serve their own interests.
The West
Yes.
love
And whose interest is Russia and China serving?
Everybody does, like you said, better tell you, everyone will serve their own interests. Like you said earlier on, like I said it too, they're all white powers, white supremacists. That's all it is.
No, you can't call them white supremacists.
What it is?
No.
What it is?
Okay, if you look at the world, we had the industrialized revolution take place in Europe, right? Europeans are people who believe in always finding new things. We must why we as a people, even we black people, we say we've been oppressed. We're very superstitious people. We cry racism, but all the oppression we have, we still have tribes. I'm not saying Europe don't have tribe too, but we still tribal. For instance, how black people see each other, how we look at each other. We're looking at the European alone. If you look at the continent of Africa, all what they've been to, but you still have tribes. Perhaps if they get rid of tribes, they will have this tribe.
You still have tribe in Europe. I mean, the French is a tribe.
Yeah, but Europe have tribe, but still, it's not like, for example,
they have learned to put their national interests ahead of their tribal interests.
Correct.
For example,
that's a good point, Delbert.
Yeah,
very good point.
I agree that one.
Yeah.
So, but when other people are trying to put their interests, I think they try to fragment.
But Joseph, you're still talking like 1930s.
But the fact remains, that is what's going on there.
For instance, in South Africa right now, what is happening in South Africa, and people don't pay attention to that.
But the South Africans.
No, listen, but listen, man. We want to learn to hear each other, and then we could listen to each other at a time. In South Africa tonight, I was listening to something. I think it happened on the 23rd, where Malema was addressing, post the shutdown, and of course they raised the issue of the arrest of Putin, from the ICC. The same Western country led by US, who did not recognize the ICC, is now very high in wanting to arrest Putin when he goes to South Africa. Malema said, look, we will defend, let him come here. Nobody will touch him. Because what happened? Who assisted us?
Yeah, but
no, listen, me, August. I will be trying to be a little. Who assisted us when we needed liberation? The Russians, the Cubans, they came with the soldiers. Who? What? And unlike the US.
The problem with that analysis is that the Russia of today is not the Soviet Union of the 1970s and 80s.
No, it is. The politics change.
No, Malema is wrong.
No, the nation remained. The Russian nation remained.
The politics is different.
The policy might change, but the Russian nation.
Okay, so that's my point.
I think Malema made the point that he's no Nelson Mandela. Eh?
No.
So
Both Malema and the president of South Africa, who Malema want to remove, they support Russia. But the reason how Joe looking at it is not that way it is.
No.
The South African want to protect the interests.
Against the West.
For example, apartheid is over.
No, it's not over.
Hold on. No. I don't.
Wait.
So hold on, Hudson.
Apartheid is not there, but economically, the black people don't really control the economy, and the West, the American went to South Africa and asked the government in South Africa to sanction Russia. But even though the economy in South Africa is controlled by the West. You see, politics is a funny thing. The West give the black people the government to run, but they don't control the economy. But when you deal with diplomatic stuff, they must go to the black people to get it, because the black people running the country, the administration of the country, even though they don't control the economy. So when it comes to the diplomatic part, both the ANC and the Malema EFF say no. So Ramaphosa make the South African army had a maneuver with Russia and China, which is symbolic. That's all it is. But also
guys,
looking at it,
we have 50. Hold on, we have 50 minutes. 50 minutes before we get out of here. We have 50 minutes left.
You can't uncover this can of worms and then say we have.
It's a different politics.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is this.
What Margaret had to say about it?
Yeah, Margaret, look to Margaret. Margaret saying,
I'm staying out to this. Because listen. My opinion on this is this. Everybody is vying for control at the end of the day. Yes. The Russians are no more altruistic than anybody else. Putin wants to recreate the Russian Empire. Don't fool your head about that.
Exactly.
China wants to take, so the reality is his hands ain't no clean. He ain't no saint. He just as dirty as the rest of them.
All of them hands dirty. All of them.
I say, and my attitude is this, I always say is about picking your poison, right? Yes. It's a choice between whether I want somebody to stick me in my chest, as the West will do, or if I want somebody to stick me in the back, as the Russians will do, under the guise of being my friend. Yes. So you know what? Let me take my chances with the rest. As I always say, I prefer to take my chances with a clan member. I know he don't like me. I know he is a racist. I know everything, as opposed to somebody who's pretending to be against the clan and just waiting for me to turn my back and then they slice me.
The Russians have been in Africa for about 60 years now. Okay? They can't point to one economic development project they have done. The only thing that they have done in Africa is sell weapons to them.
And here's the other thing. Yeah. For people who want to talk about being so pro-Africa and pro-Black, you can't be pro-Black and pro-Africa and not deal with the Russians and how they deal with Black folk.
Of course.
It ain't no different.
No, Europe is a racist place.
It ain't no different.
And I'm glad you guys are excusing Ramaphosa and them for their corruption. Because
no, not excusing nobody.
No.
There's no excuse for nobody.
But because the problem in South Africa is Ramaphosa.
Yeah. No, not Ramaphosa. He's part of the problem. He's the face of the white down there. He's the face of the white. In fact, that same German professor said the reason the West, the European Union, raised huge amount of money to ensure that Ramaphosa got in when Zuma was on his way out. So if people don't know those intricacies and you only listen to the Western influence, so you must have those kind of stuff.
Joseph Ramaphosa have no other choice.
He's choiceless. That's true.
Because he will go to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, he has no other choice.
And that's the pressure they put on the Western world, put on all those leaders on them. Every one of them that don't not towing the line. They have a playbook, and they use their playbook well to make all those countries who supposed to want to be nationalists and do all stuff for themselves. They have a playbook. Hold on, Hudson. They have a playbook that if you don't go by it, we will crush you. Simple as that. Simple as that. I mean, it's evident. Even in America here, there is people. The same thing. You know, if you don't play the book, the playbook that they wrote,
they're going to take you.
They'll take you down. In Africa, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Last week, the drones what the US does use to shoot all the Islamic terrorists, to shoot all the people. They kill the Iranian scientists with it.
Yeah.
The Russians shoot it down. They never bomb back. They didn't bomb back at the Russian.
No.
2 days ago, the Iranian hit them in Syria. They hit back.
But Hudson, what is the difference between Iran and Syria and Russia? What does Russia have that they don't have?
Exactly.
You mean who? You mean Syria?
Mm-hmm. And Iran. What does Russia have that they don't have? The same thing that Russia has is the same thing that North Korea has.
Yeah.
Which is why
no,
they
Russia
wouldn't
have
do the
more
same.
deadly weapon than
No,
I'm
the
just
nuclear
saying.
power.
Oh.
Nuclear power.
Nuclear power.
Nuclear power.
I'm
And
not
that's
sure.
the reason why. And that's the reason why. Because believe you me, they would have gone after North Korea. But that's exactly the reason why
They're
they
not
will
going
not
there.
touch North Korea, because
I don't-
you know
not-
that guy
I don't
crazy.
think- yeah, I don't think North Korea doesn't have the capability to hit the US yet.
No, it
Yeah, but
doesn't
if you
matter.
go close,
It's not about hitting the US. Not about hitting
But
the
you
US.
have to think about, you have to think about the people around there, South
Yeah.
Korea,
He's gonna
Japan.
hit Japan and South Korea and them. But
Correct.
but the reality is that if it came to that, they are going to level North Korea. They're going to level it. We wouldn't even recognize it as a country.
But I don't think
but
anybody. I know
if
they're crazy
If
people out there.
if he launch any nuclear weapon at any Western ally, they are going to level it.
But
Delbert, I don't disagree with you, because of course there's that agreement. If you hit one member,
You hit the other.
you hit all. But the problem with that, I mean, sometimes I don't think that with all the things that people say and everything is that they necessarily want to create a nuclear war again, or to drop nuclear bombs.
The other thing is that,
and I agree with you, Margaret. You know,
but the other thing is that
what was Joseph saying?
Hold on, Delbert. Joseph?
I agree with you, Margaret, in the sense that the talk about the nuclear war, that is only deterrent or fostering.
Mm-hmm.
I said a few months ago on GBN, when I was speaking about climate change, and somebody called and said we should be more concerned about the war in Ukraine because Putin would use the nuclear whatever. And I said that wouldn't happen because everybody would lose.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction.
Yeah. Everybody would lose. But you see, unless we understand the context in which things happen, we will be having some of those model conversations, because it's not cut and dry. It's very complicated. It's messy.
Mm-hmm.
Take my word for it. Putin is going to be dead in 5 years.
No. I think Russia is going to take Ukraine. I believe that. I tell a lot of people that.
He's going to do what?
Take Ukraine.
Russia is going to get Ukraine. And how they will get it? I tell a lot of people that. You know what's going to happen with Ukraine? Ukraine won't have building in the next 2 years. So where people going to live?
What I think is,
Russia is going to bomb it to the ground.
I feel bad, honestly.
I don't think so.
I feel bad for the Ukrainians because, if you look at it, they've become a pawn in a game.
Yeah, exactly that.
I feel really bad for them, and I honestly feel that the West is going to sell them out eventually.
Well, I think it's happening already.
But Margaret, then you could argue that they can't, because if they the war in Ukraine is not about Ukraine,
No, it's not.
We all know that. It's not about
the war in
Ukraine.
Ukraine is about Taiwan.
You get to the Indian South China Sea.
Hey, boy, that is a whole other
The war
discussion
in
and trouble.
Ukraine is about Taiwan. It's not about Ukraine.
It's controlling that area.
Americans care less what happened with Ukraine. They're all the same people. Okay, the war in Ukraine is about Taiwan.
Taiwan, big time. The eagle's eyes is on Taiwan. Why? See what happened earlier in the war, where the what's her name?
Policy and the speaker.
Policy. Yeah, when there. This was that was well planned. This strategic move, right? To show Taiwan they still have the US have their back. Yeah, and they will make sure that they protect that. So the proxy war, what we call the proxy war in Ukraine, have far-reaching consequences. Not just I'm sorry to say it, but what the guy named Zelensky, he's as nice as a donut. You know what I mean? He just going along, and he just don't realizing that he bring the country into a serious.
I don't think he did, because I think they're also underestimating Ukrainians too.
John, what would you have done? What would you have done? Would you have just given up?
No, I will make it easy. I will fight still. I can survive.
How could you accuse him of being a pawn? You're not a Ukrainian.
But hold on. He's been used. He's been used there, but we know that. Like you just correctly said, the war is not about. Hold on, the war is not about them. It's not about them. You just said that the U.S. by the U.S., Britain, the U.S. and Britain, all of them, the Western powers.
Listen, he made the choice to stand up and fight.
So,
he made a choice.
He's a nationalist. You want to say that? He stand up and fight for his country.
Listen, but he made a choice to stand up and fight. He could have run. He could have taken his family and run. As a matter of fact, a week before the Russians invaded, the U.S. sent Vice President Harris to tell him that he will be killed because their information was that they were going to decapitate the government by either taking him hostage or killing him and his family. He had that information. They showed him the intelligence on it. He made a decision to stand up and fight. So somebody who do that, I can't fault him. He's fighting for his people.
You can't fault him.
No,
but a whole look at the war. I don't think the Russian is going to reach her. And
they're not going back.
All they care about is the territories they're taking, the damage in the area, so there is no building.
But the bottom line, guys, is Russia is weaker today than when they started the war.
Yep.
No.
Hold on. Let me make the point. I made the point. If you now having to resort to go to a prior nation as North Korea for weapons, for ammunition, to Iran for drones, okay, and begging China for weapons, and you cannot still call yourself a superpower.
Delbert,
Second World War, that happened in Second World War also.
No.
Russia had American supply.
Delbert, the simple analysis to it is the US is the head of NATO.
Yeah.
But Russia is fighting NATO.
Yeah.
Britain, France, Germany, Poland. Russia is against a lot.
But guys, listen to me.
So they're going to take something from
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The West was prepared for Ukraine to fall. Okay? The only reason that the West came in and decided to support Ukraine, okay, was because the Ukrainians decided to fight to defend their homeland.
Hold
on.
No, that's not true. That's not that. I mean,
hold on. Let them finish this point.
Because according to the Russian general staff, they were supposed to have Kiev in 4 days.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
So if you capture the capital, you have the country, and they failed at that. The fact that a year after, that Putin is announcing another 400,000 conscripts to be called up, says that they are losing.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Two coups take place in Ukraine before we reach to that situation.
Yes, exactly.
The first guy they overthrew, he ran to Russia. Then they put a lady, they move her. Then they put a next guy. And then they put a new guy now.
Okay.
And the new guy.
Hold on. One at a time.
Get me out. I'm not arguing that the US is right in the manipulation of the world order.
You didn't even talk about the Moscow Treaty. The Moscow.
The Minsk Accord. Okay. It's not a treaty. It's not a treaty. It's an accord.
The accord is a treaty.
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Calm down. Let's
when you break a thing like this, you prepare for something else. So everything was planned.
But let me say also, the fact, I mean, there was tend to talk about the reality, but there's the fact that we cannot dispute. Zelensky was in the process of easing, of signing a treaty, I think was in Ankara in Turkey. And what happened? Biden sent Boris Johnson to tell him don't sign it. So a lot of the fighting that have,
Take your camera, brother.
so yeah, a lot of the fighting that have gone on could have been avoided because in the end, Ukraine will come out is already the loser and will lose. They could have saved themselves less suffering. But of course, there's a program by the neocons of the West. The collective West.
History has taught us that in the end, Ukraine will win that war.
No, they would not.
They will lose the war because
they lose.
Russia is mashing up the country.
They will not win that.
Listen, you know,
history has taught us that in the end, Ukraine is going to win that.
Yeah, you know, let me tell you, I mean, the reality is that weapons and stuff don't win wars, you know.
But Margaret, they're taking out the people wherever the Russian conquer.
No. I hear what you're saying. But you know something? There's a will among the Ukrainian people to defend their country, and that more than anything else determines whether you win or lose a war.
But you got 30% of Ukrainians are Russians.
It has nothing to do with that.
Well,
it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, but
let's go back and study the history, not long, you know, recent history, the last 30, 40 years of the Polish and the Romanians. Okay, then Russia was even more a dominant partner, and they still end up losing. History has taught us that they will lose that war because the West cannot alone afford to lose it.
Not the Russian cannot afford to lose it.
I think if you have any doubt about the will of a people, look at Afghanistan.
Exactly.
Look at Afghanistan.
That's a different one.
Yeah. No.
I'm not the same war. No. It's not the same war. But I'm saying it's the will of the people.
You see, there is 30%.
The West
Ukrainians are
Russians.
Yeah, but how did they become ethnic Russians too? Let's talk about that thing and you're trying, yes. And how
they wouldn't go back either. They wouldn't go back.
But that doesn't mean that they support Russia.
Not everyone.
That's also true.
No, they would not. Yeah, that's right.
But
that's also true.
But there is a lady in Putin's government what was raised in Canada, school here, and she's a Ukrainian and she's in Russia in the government.
Isn't she the one who's head of the central bank?
And is a nice looking woman.
Watson.
I can say her name.
Oh my God!
That's it.
That's what your politics head is.
I'm not touching that one, Hudson.
You also have a Ukrainian in the Canadian government.
Yeah, not in the Canadian government.
In the Russian government.
No,
Ukrainian.
The deputy prime minister. Why do you think Canada is supporting Ukraine in the way, and they even try to get CARICOM, bring that criminal to address them?
There's another question I want to touch on about it for next time. Not this week coming, probably if we do it Friday night, because I think Mr. Jones, I want to bring Mr. Jones for a team of people next week on a different subject area. But I want you guys to think about this thing, and we don't talk about it tonight, I just mentioned it, right? the whole notion of Putin will be charged for kidnapping Ukrainian children, right?
Okay.
And
I don't put much stock in that.
No.
Yeah. I mean, even the whole thing about the International Criminal Court. I mean, I kind of like just laugh at that. I mean, that's something they just
that's nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, look at Khan. Imran Khan gets a soft release in the same brother. The judge want to put charge against Putin and let the brother get a soft walk out of the criminal charges in for pedophilia. You know what I mean? So what kind of standard is a double standard, right? So here's a man taking children out of a war zone for their own safety, and here's a man who a pedophile. You know?
Yeah. So I'm gonna stand by my prediction. Putin will be dead in 5 years. What's his name in India? What's his name again?
Modi
will lose the next election.
You think?
Yeah,
I'm sure that you know that, but I'm sure that because that Hindu nationalism. I mean,
you don't understand India. I'm
What
telling
do you mean
no,
I don't
Mr.
understand?
Anita.
Modi will lose the next election.
That's not
Yeah,
true.
I hope that Button getting his information from the Bajan guy, you know.
Yeah, I'm
I'm betting on that one because I'm standing on the fence on that.
But even
I'm not a
Hold on. Let Joseph talk.
I'm not a fan of Modi. In fact, one time when I was having a conversation with an Indian man here, I alluded that Modi and the former prime minister here is the same type of character. They have the same type of, makeup.
Yeah.
But based on the current situation in India, in spite of all the excesses of Modi, it's very unlikely that any party or one party could depose Modi right now.
Modi will lose the next election.
Whether Modi lose or he win, India foreign policy will remain the same. Because
it's going to remain largely the same.
Same.
But there are going to be a slight twist in it.
Not much.
No, I don't think so because he has already. Didn't he move this week to Bar, the Gandhi guy?
Yeah.
From,
yeah.
From that's
But he doesn't. He does not run. He doesn't run. He's the figurehead of the party. He doesn't really I mean, the guy just.
But right now, the Gandhi's in both parties.
Yeah. The
one who died in the plane crash, Sanjay.
And then the other brother.
Sanjay children and Sanjay wife moved over to the opposition party.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah.
That's interesting because he was the heir apparent.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a conspiracy theory why he died.
Right.
But they're
in both political parties.
He was a playboy too. He was a big risk taker.
Yeah, nice boy.
Yeah, and also a more temperamental person. Like he probably killed very early. That killed folk.
Yeah, the other brother who succeeded after the mother was assassinated had turned out to be who had no interest in politics actually.
Yeah.
Turned out to be a pretty decent leader.
Yeah.
Because he was very measured in his approach to things.
But he paid for his sin of going and invade selling food in Sri Lanka.
In where?
No.
No, let me tell you, the Tamils. He said in
Tiger?
He did?
that kill him. Yeah, Tamils that kill him.
Okay, I didn't realize that he was involved in that.
It was a Sikh.
No, a Sikh killed his mother.
A Sikh killed his mother.
But
Tamils, because he sent in troops into
Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
But Joe, if you say you're so leftist, you're some leftist.
Well, you accuse him of being leftist.
No. If you hear that? Let me tell you, Hudson, let me tell you. I'm a student of international relations from long time ago.
No, not what you study.
Hold on, Hudson, let me explain yourself. You just accuse him of something.
I'm a student of international relations. I'm a keen observer of world events. And so I form my opinion not on the basis of
Hold on, Hudson, let him finish. See what he's saying and then we'll come in.
I don't form my opinion on the basis of allegiance to one group or the other. In fact, let me tell you something. Throughout my life, people have always predicted that I will be a politician. And I've shocked them when I say I have no interest in being a politician. Now I'll work with politicians, I'll aid politicians that I feel could serve the public. I mean, the greater good of humanity. I have no interest in politics. Sometimes there's issues that people would accuse me of being pro-American. For example, when it comes to children's rights, I am against beating children. And they say, oh, you're American on that side. I am free to change my mind. I am free to
Exactly.
We all think free. But the point I was making is the Tamil was the British used divide and conquer in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I know the story.
So the Tamil was a minority group. And the Sinhalese, or how you call them, were the majority.
The Sinhalese.
Right. So to say Gandhi sent troops to the Tamil, I don't agree with you because the
No,
Tamil
I'm
is
telling
the
you,
minority group.
No, I'm telling
Doesn't
you.
matter,
Gandhi-
Hudson.
You mean
Doesn't
the
matter.
country
They
to
have
stay
rights
alive?
too.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, Gandhi did on the request. I mean, there was upheaval there, the civil war, descending, and the Tamils, although originally from India, they did not forgive Rajiv. I'm telling you, I'm a student of India, you know. Trust me, in all sense of the word, not just in terms of politics and religion. And I mean, sometimes I wonder if I'm more Indian than African. Although
Yeah,
I have blood.
but Joe, he probably didn't have a choice there. India is the regional power in that area.
Yeah, maybe that was the part. That was the thing. I mean, they wanted to do something maybe on the behest of some other even bigger power.
No, the Indian government did a good thing when they went in there.
What do you mean? And he got his death for that?
Well, he died, but when they went in was not a bad thing they did.
No, but who said that? Not to the Tamils.
Somebody had to go in.
No.
Yeah,
No,
but
why we can have peaceful? Why can have peaceful thing and the Sri Lankan the Sinhalese end up liquidating them?
During the British colonialism, they used the Tamil, the Sinhalese was an internal apartheid the British create.
Yeah, I know.
So the Sinha, which was the majority, was treated back.
Right.
But
Similar to what the Americans did in Liberia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Black American go back.
Yeah. Well, guys, hear what? I gotta take some final comments. I gotta get out of here. Got 11:39. There, but closing remarks, my brother and co-host, my Kong City man. Come on.
He would be dead in 5 years. And Modi will lose the next election. I'm standing on my prediction.
All right.
But listen, these are complicated issues, and a lot of times what we see or what the everyday mainstream media wants us to believe is they set their own narrative, and the narrative is probably set in a think tank somewhere in Washington, New York, or some other major capital, whether it's London or Bonn or wherever. And there was a movie some years ago that says every government has a hidden agenda, right? Every government has a hidden agenda. Yeah. So there are lots of hidden agendas here, but I think we have to be honest about our analysis, okay? Whether or not the West turns out to win this war in Ukraine is probably still up in the air, but I believe that for the neocons, they have decided that is something that they cannot lose, okay? They are going to get some pushback from the ultra-nationalists, white supremacists in the United States, but the national security apparatus in the US will coalesce in the end around Ukraine. So I don't think there's going to be very much, there's going to be a lot of noise in the market, but the cash is going to continue to flow because that's the way the system is built. Secondly, China is going to be very careful about getting more involved in that conflict for a number of reasons, right? The Chinese have not fought a war in almost 70 years. The only one they attempted to, all right, was with the Vietnamese, and they got beat back badly, that they pulled back. So while they make a lot of noise about Taiwan, I think in the mind of Xi and his generals, they're still very tentative about Taiwan because, like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the nose. They don't know how their military are going to stand up. They don't know how their generals are going to perform under pressure. The advantage that the US has and their Western allies is that they've been fighting now for forever. Every few years, the US is in a war, all right? So they learn from it, okay? The US historically has not very been good at urban combat warfare, right? Historically, they were never good at that. But now they're probably one of the best in the world, given what they learned in Afghanistan and Fallujah and some of the other popular centers, Mogadishu, that they have had to fight in the last 25 to 30 years. So they have a better understanding how their generals and the NCOs will stand up under the pressure of war, because they have been more battle tested. And I think this is going to, the other important thing, and I'm going to end on that, is that the Chinese cannot afford to bite the hand that feeds them. Okay? China has its own internal problem. Okay? So it needs to be growing its economy in that 9 to 11% range to keep its own people at bay and to keep them happy. That is not happening right now. If you go to war with the West and Europe, who are going to buy your products?
Well, I understand a lot of the American companies are operating in China as well too, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So, and then American debts, I think, I can't remember the last time, I think
China is the biggest holder of
US debt, right?
That's irrelevant. No. It is irrelevant.
Why is it?
Let me tell you why it's irrelevant.
Okay, go ahead.
If you when the mob don't really kill you, they beat you up to pay. Right? If they kill you, who's going to pay the debt? The debt is canceled.
Yeah.
So the popular sentiment is if you owe the bank $1 million, they own you. But when you owe them $100 million, you own them. Because they come to you to negotiate and renegotiate, and they make the terms easier and easier and easier for you. So China really doesn't have a hand to play with that. They own that US debt. Okay? If they decide to cash it in, then the risk, the contagion that would happen in the world economy across the full spectrum is even going to take them down. So they have no choice to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a big economic risk to cash it in. They don't want to do that. It's like playing Russian roulette with that one. All right, Hudson George. Closing remarks.
I can't really predict and say what will happen to the leaders. But I believe that the Russians wouldn't withdraw. 1, 2, I believe they're going to damage Ukraine and destroy the cities where people live. Once they cross the Donbas region, it's worse. When they the place they call it again, Bakhmut or whatever is the name. Once they cross that place, they're going to go through the wheat field and they're going to be just damaging the country. Because if you check, Russia to Ukraine is like Canada and the United States. Yeah. So it's not far they're going to fight. And all they care about is more than they
acquire.
They create a bigger buffer, a buffer territory. They take more than 100,000 square miles of land already.
Yeah.
Right. And they're still moving. And they're not taking it because they want to leave. So, and they won't reach out. And then they'll talk about the US and fighting war. I don't support that one because those who are US don't be fighting. Who they fighting with?
Weak people.
Weak people.
Who are the weak people? Who are the weak people? Russia. Who are the weak people they fought with?
Number one,
Grenada.
Iraqi was buying weapons.
Guys, let's be honest here.
Well, no. You give yours already.
The fight.
Let me make mine.
So let me finish it.
Saddam was buying weapons. Right? Gaddafi was buying weapons. All the Arab countries is weapons they're buying. Right?
Okay.
But the US or NATO, for first time since the World War, they will be facing a country like Russia, whether they're stronger or not. You have to look at remember the Second World War. Germany wipe out France in a couple days. They take over. Britain get away because he was on an island. The Russians defeated Hitler. Secondly,
at a terrible cost. At a terrible cost.
But they defeated them.
Russia has lost more troops in 1 year. Hold on. Fighting in Ukraine than the Americans lost in 20 years fighting in Afghanistan.
But that is a more dangerous war. That's what you're all looking at. That is the worst war since the Second World War. Secondly,
no.
If you look at,
it's the first war in Europe. That doesn't mean it's more dangerous.
No, that's the most dangerous war. From the time the Second World War, the most dangerous weapon is using now, right now. And the U.S.
The U.S. used some pretty nasty weapon in Afghanistan.
The U.S.
That was a no war. Come on,
the U.S. lost almost 100,000 troops in Europe for the short time they were there before the World War over.
But that was a world war. Yeah.
But NATO, his little boys there is going to beat up. We don't know if they're strong. I don't know. I can't say.
I don't think that. I don't think.
Okay.
When you fight,
hold on.
Also, when you fighting a man that's not afraid to die and he thinks 72 virgins waiting for him in heaven, he ain't have nothing to lose, you know.
But who could fight war in the cold like a Russian?
Oh my God.
I just watch them. These guys just have a glove in their hand.
Okay.
These are army people.
Okay. But you think Americans ready to Hudson, the Russian army has proven to be largely ineffective in this war.
No.
Okay. No. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Russia is fighting NATO.
Yeah. Okay, but they're still ineffective.
But
I don't think so.
They're not ineffective.
Okay.
I don't think so.
If NATO, if today.
Hold on. Let him clear up his submission.
Russia is fighting NATO and the industrialized revolution take place in Europe. Germany have the highest technology in the world, right? The Ukraine getting weapon from most of the European countries. These are countries that good at making machines. And then you have the United States. They say it's the #1 power. So that means Russia is fighting
up against
a lot of people. It's not like America going in Iraq.
But there are no German troops in Iraq. There are no German troops in Ukraine.
Yeah.
What mercenaries? They want the mercenaries that they say. You think it's only war nowadays?
There are no German.
All right. Okay.
There are no German and US troops on the front line.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Let's go to Mr. Antoine. Mr. Antoine, your closing submission.
Let me hear my leftist brother.
Why are you labeling me?
Why are you labeling my leftist? You're Hudson. Stop that.
I'm not going up for Hudson.
Okay, you sound like a leftist in truth.
But Hudson, why you want to live?
No, this is a joke. This is a joke. Come on, let's go.
Okay, let's go. Mr. Antoine, go ahead. Fix your camera. Fix your camera. We're not seeing you.
Okay. All right. You see me better now?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yes. Keep it stable. Keep it stable there.
Yeah. The thing about it is that, as I said earlier, the issues that we're dealing are very complex. And it depends on where you're getting your feed from, where you're getting information from. It will influence how you see the thing. From day one, even before the war, I've been following this. From since when they said they overthrew the government, I think you sang whatever his name, and he had to flee to Russia. One of the things that happened is that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was an understanding between Russia and the West. Look, we will behave in this particular way, except if but you must not come to our border, close to our border, and Russia takes this seriously. And the fact that as the years go by, every time you see NATO coming closer and closer to the Russian border, and it's like if for instance Mexico, if Mexico was to come closer to the American border or something like that, as with the missile crisis, what do you think they would do not seek to defend themselves? And that is the thing we have to understand. I have listened to intellectuals on both sides of the divide, and I'm convinced that this will provoke war, and it will end in humiliation, as all the wars the Americans have engaged, whether it's the invasion of Grenada or Panama, Iraq, Libya, they leave suffering behind. That's all they could do. But having said that, I want to go to China now. Now, China, people underestimating China. And by the way, I'm no fan of any of those countries I'm talking. I'm just as a student of history and international relations. I look at things that way. What people don't know, China is doing something at the moment. Americans have a lot of companies they had in Japan. But China is also setting up companies in like Vietnam and in some of the regional countries, so that even when the Americans on the West try to put pressure on them in terms of say they leave in China, it still wouldn't affect them as if they didn't prepare. China is more prepared than America would like in terms of their own strategic interests. So we can say anything about what we want about the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Russians, but I think President Xi said, we have to be prepared to live in a multipolar world, no longer one power. And it would stay out in the next few months. Right back in Grenada, then where we started off, I think that unless we help our people to understand that life is more complex than this narrow, simplistic, give me a food point of view and let those geriatric politicians influence them, we will have to be debating those kind of issues. So I'm thankful that you give me the opportunity to be on this show, and I hope that you will invite me again. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
And thank you to your host, although sometimes we almost start to behave like a little unreasonable to each other by not listening to one another.
No. We're not unreasonable.
That's there about 101. That's why Margaret is here to school him.
Come on, man. We scaled Lasso for it together. You should know me. I've been like that from I came out of my mother arguing with her. So yeah. but
that's there about 101.
I truly, it's been a long time. I really enjoy you being on the show tonight, man. And I don't have to agree with every of your perspective, but I tremendously respect your views, and it certainly shows that, that's the way I've always known you to be well read up on these topics, and since you have diverse sort of positions, it says that you make up your own mind on the issues, you know.
Yeah, very much so. Well, thank you again, Mr. Antoine. You definitely will be back. That's what we like here. You know, we have the Hudson Judge. We have, who always come in here and have his opinion and everything as well too. So
Hudson have a crush on the Ukrainian-Russian.
Yeah, minister. Yeah. So we're gonna watch that. We'll buy your ticket. Don't worry. Do you have to buy your ticket?
I just believe.
Dinner for two Hudson.
Well, listen. This is not. I remember when there was some very attractive male political leaders in the Caribbean, and the U.S. sent a dashingly attractive ambassador to the Eastern Caribbean. And there was some rumors of her
flirting around.
Flirting and just go, there's a rumor, the Dominicans tell a rumor of where she had the prime minister in a hotel room when he was supposed to be somewhere else signing something, and he didn't even know what happened to it.
But it always does that, right? That's what the economic hitman does.
That's used in our politics every single day.
All right, Margaret. My apologies to you for having your shopping class late. You know, it was my fault. I apologize for that. Margaret always show up in class early. Hudson always come and late in class. You know, he and I was at the Ola's Kitchen this evening. Guys, if you don't know Ola's Kitchen, love you in Toronto, please. But when you come to Crown at this time, don't go far in the far east or stay in the west. Come to Central and visit Ola's Kitchen. Get some good soup. They had a nice pumpkin soup today. I had one, and come and get some oil done.
I'll be up for the summer. Hopefully. Yeah.
All right. So you get to Ola's Kitchen, and Margaret come up too. Come up to
right now. I'm my compass is more looking St. George's than Toronto.
All right, we gotta bring you here for Jim FM Family Day in August. This the 12th of August. That is the second Saturday after Caribana. So every year, that's what happens every year after Caribana. And talking about that, the lady who gave us the idea to have the family day, Jim FM Family Day, she passed away. I spoke to her in November, and I expect her to be up in 2022. I expect her to be here, and I spoke to her before in 2021, and so I called this year and to speak to her. After having heard from her for a while, they told me that she died in January 2022.
Oh wow!
So it's sad because we spoke just in November, December about coming up for Jim FM Family Day, and she had a free ticket from the airline because they had messed up some stuff and give her an open ticket, and then she was to fly back to Toronto to come to the stuff. So I was just trying to call her back to confirm, and then ask her why she didn't come, you know, and then the doctor pick up the phone and say, look, she mom passed away in 2022 January. So that was a sad thing for us. But we're gonna have it this year. Pay special recognition to her for that. She's the one who initiated Family Day in Toronto, Jim FM Family, because she was talking to people in Toronto on Jim FM, and she can see them. So she said, you know what, how can a family day? So I will come up to make sure you happen to meet all the people that she's talking to on Jim FM. And we did that, and she came up for the first one, and you know, that happened, and we just couldn't have her again. But God bless her, rest her soul. So Margaret, your turn to closing remarks, and please don't interrupt the lady. She doesn't let you speak again.
I think I agree. I agree with a lot of the sentiments that were expressed. With Delbert, yeah, I think I agree with you on Putin. I disagree with you on Modi. Modi's going to win the elections. In terms of the US and the fighting, well, as you know, the US is sort of like moving to unmanned, the use of, you know, unmanned, they're moving to use unmanned thing, drones and stuff and whatever. So, I mean, we could see a lot of that being used in future wars, which would probably reduce the need for, you know, the amount of troops and that kind of like street fighting type of thing that Delbert spoke about. In terms of Joseph Antoine, I mean, you make a good point about getting information from a variety of sources, but you must always bear in mind that every single source comes with a bias. There's nothing as objectivity in media. You know, so that your choices and everything else is influenced by your experiences, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your culture is, and all of that stuff, that will influence whatever goes into your newscast and how it's presented. That's just a fact. It's just a matter of who you are.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not simply Western media have an agenda. Everybody has an agenda, because at the end of the day, everybody is fighting for control of one sort or the other. So that's something you need to be aware of. And as to Mr. Hudson, with his crush, I mean, how dare you diss the sisters here now? You know what I'm saying? We got to look into that. I'm going to shoot the sisters on you. But
yeah. You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
You're in real trouble, Hudson.
She went back to Russia and joined the government.
Yeah.
You know, you're in real trouble.
She's a Ukrainian.
Well, Hudson,
I mean, really, Hudson? I mean, seriously? No.
Well, next time I'm going to get her name and give her.
Wait.
Okay.
What was the song that Sparrow had a song about that, right?
Huh?
You sing that today, boy. What? Listen.
Which one? Which one of that song?
I forgot something about the Trini and the white women and whatnot.
What is the white meat yet?
Oh yeah, that's it.
That one. Hudson, are you on for that?
No,
brother, you live in Canada.
Oh, once I come across a girl from Norway.
Oh, they're very much into black men.
Scandinavians are exception to that rule.
Yeah.
Oh, they're very much into black men.
Yeah, I think we could adopt the Scandinavians. I know about the rest.
I think why they like that is because
you're giving Hudson George ideas, please.
No, because they're extreme white.
I spent
so white that they just like.
I spent 3 weeks in Helsinki in 1980, and I swear I was going to move there after I came back to Grenada.
My God, you guys are crazy. I gotta put you on Hudson a watch list.
No, I think so.
I was 19 years old and foolish, right? So
Hudson still admiring at his age, So go figure that out. So Margaret, continue, yeah.
No, so basically, that those were basically my comments to sort of like wrap it up and stuff, and yeah, so that's kind of like where we are. It will be interesting to see what happens in the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah. So we come to the end. It's 12:03. I know I won't be sleeping on the couch tonight anyway, but that's okay. I will not be on the couch. However, I'm really grateful for this conversation tonight, and I want to say that what we do here, how we do our shows here, we open-mindedly voice our opinions, be able to talk to each other, not be in argument, even if we are disrespectful. In many cases, we just, people might be anxious to speak about what they have to say, and and it's just the temperament of the passion that one has for conversation, for the topics that is at hand, that brings out that aggressive kind of nature in us. We have this thing, we talk, we tell people, we bring out our point. And I think that passion goes so deep that as a people, we want to express ourselves. And I say you'll never find another show where people have this passion, because they never get time to express themselves, because they have a 50-minute show or 20-minute show, and it's done. So, but we allow ourselves to express our feelings, to bring out in us what we feel passionate about, to speak about it, and that's where I think we're different from the other media houses. We allow ourselves to flow freely, and everybody has their own opinion. They could present themselves, present their opinions, and speak to the world. Let the world know who and how we feel, what our opinions are. And I think that we are doing just that to get the people. Oh, somebody say Hudson George is already overloaded with ideas. Please don't give him any more. The audience know you very well. You are a library.
Tonight he didn't promote any ideas. He was promoting vices.
Vices. Oh my God, Hudson George. The audience know you so well. They don't want to get no more ideas.
No. I was not conventional from an early age. So I create my own school to learn.
Yeah.
I follow everything,
Yeah.
And I have a good database.
Yeah. We don't, that give you that.
I could retrieve.
Yeah.
Just
keep the library open and share
information. You're not getting Alzheimer's.
You're getting that. Don't speak that into your life. You're not having that. You're not having that, period. If we ever attempt that, we get some real coconut oil for you. And I would get to supply some coconut oil every day.
John, by the way, you just mentioned coconut oil. There's some groundbreaking study on coconut oil. Everything. in its fight against Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
Yeah, I saw
that.
that story.
Actually, I saw a nurse who her husband doing this thing, and she started giving the coconut milk, and he started knowing the time again, started writing again, he started doing all kinds of, and just fed him coconut oil, just the coconut milk, cream, whatever.
But bear in mind that it's a preliminary study. And the thing is that while it may work, while something may work in one patient, doesn't necessarily mean it will work in
another. Even with marijuana for epileptic patients,
But for the old women in the part of Chantemelle called behind Duquesne who boil coconut oil for a living. And they all live to be 100 years old because that's all they use.
That's what they use.
Yeah.
But I bet there were other factors that contributed to their longevity.
They exercise a lot because they exercise a lot because they had to walk everywhere they're going. But I remember this particular lady, there was nothing she did without coconut oil. Everything.
Who is my grandaunt? Jeremy, my grandaunt?
She was one of them. And what's his name? Mother Clayton. You remember Clayton?
No, I know everybody in Chantemelle because I reunited with them later.
So there's a cadre of women in the back there who boil coconut oil for a living. That was their economic vehicle. And they all lived to be 90s and 100.
My grandaunt lived to 99.
Yeah,
but I'm in good company because every Saturday morning I had great coconut oil and it's always part of the diet on the table.
But let me just share a little bit, just a short piece on coconut. I myself have been using that. I always have coconut as much as possible. I eat it raw. I roast it and so on because, and then I use the oil in food. It's good. And today somebody sent me something from a Chinese scholar, intellectual that says, if you cut a few pieces of coconut, strips of coconut, and you put it in hot water, it causes the water to get alkaline, and that would destroy tumors, any thing to do with cancer. And only the cells related to cancer and not the others, In Western medicine, we have a situation that you use a medicine to fight one thing and it destroys other organ and other cells. And that, like they do when they bomb in cities,
Collateral damage, man.
Collateral damage, all the way. Yes.
The coconut, I use a coconut almost any time, even at night I eat it. It's good.
Yeah. All right. So guys, thank you guys so much for tonight. And
Hudson.
To Friday next week.
Hudson.
Hold on, Jason. Hold on. Next week, Saturday night, Mr. Joseph Antoine and the team will be having a discussion here, and you'll give more details and stuff like that. Put our forces together. So we'll be having probably start around 8 o'clock and kind of cut it off at 10 o'clock to make sure that the person's coming that exhaust them on the show. But the topic I will let you guys know when he give me the information. So we'll do it next Saturday night. And look forward next Saturday morning. We'll be back here with Delbert. I have a lady from England who deals with domestic violence, and she'll be here with me Saturday morning as well.
I'm very susceptible to the English accent, okay?
Okay. Don't be like that now.
There goes another one.
Margaret. I was just picking on Hudson.
So,
Canadian, but my pronunciation is British.
Okay.
Some of my words.
I had a show. We had a show this morning, and I think all men sometimes have a secret admirer, somebody they secretly admired, and keep them close. I don't know if there is a situation in this room, Did I say nothing to Margaret?
Human beings are...
I think the way they kind of deflecting the thing, but it's not them. But
but you see, human beings are... What is a human being? It's a funny thing. People say human being are spiritual, but human beings being are like animals too. So I don't know. It's social.
Listen to me. Anybody, all the weddings that were canceled for COVID, I'm available for I'm available as a guest, you know. So I'm a pretty good wedding guest. So just send me. You don't have to even say. Just send me the invite via WhatsApp, and I'll be there.
I'll be there.
One time.
All right.
One time I walked in. You when you leave where the handicraft center was in Sotes, and I'm going up Coconut Road.
Yeah.
You could stay below there. We had some orange tree and McDonald College on top.
Yeah, and those big ugly fruit.
Right, a lot of, and you had some bee and thing inside.
Yes.
You're going up there, the church bell bring I think it was the Catholic church. The bell bring bang, bang. So every time the bell ring, a guy was bawling, oh God, oh God. And there were some ladies with him. They were picking cocoa.
Mm.
And the lady said, what happened? You cut your foot? He said, no, the bell ring again. Bam. Then one of them go up to him and say, what happened? He said the bell ringing. I'm sorry for the fella. I'm sorry for the fella. You know what was going on? A wedding. He said, I started to laugh.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Lord. Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much. Being a good sport.
Hudson, I have something to send to you. Read it and give me a feedback on it.
Yeah. Send
All
it.
right.
Yes, you could send it tonight.
I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
cool, man.
One love, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Right, good night.
See you guys next weekend.
Good night, guys.
All right. One love.
Good night.
Yes. Peace. All right.
He's gonna make you what it is that you're supposed to be. And I'm not saying
This one comes straight out of Grenada. Next City Messenger.
working at it just a little bit, but do find out what your work is and hope.
He's gonna make you so very well in the midst, yeah. I see you living a life of selfishness with no love for humanity. You no care for no one else. Do what you want to do when you want to do. Take what you want and call it yours and say that's no mistake. Pressure in your children, tell me how much can we do? Sometimes when we a smile at your alone, no say it's fake. The pressures and the pain you sure are you alone with sick. Cause this one is gonna make you weak in the knees. My love, I, this one is gonna make you so very weak in the knees, yeah. I see mothers against daughters, fathers against sons, brothers fighting sisters. My God, when will we learn? How much more we got to see? Very soon the time will come when all wickedness must go down and righteousness must come around. Well, I see little children making babies, and the youth them lost them respect for the elders. And every youth you meet them tell you them a gangster, and if you ready them a bit shot it will fire. I want to every youth man heart desire. But someone pray, teach them to pray, teach them to pray. This one is gonna make you weak in the knee. My love, this one is gonna make you so very weak in the knees, yeah. So very weak, so very weak. Well, I see little children making babies, and they use them as them respect for the elders. And every youth you meet them tell you them a gangster, and if you're ready them a bit shot it will fire. I want to every youth man heart desire. Someone pray. Someone pray.
In this life that we live in.